been looking at that problem for about 20, 30 years now.
Right, and I assume the answer is not obvious, right? Because
it's not. I mean, no. I mean,
sense is people have been moving towards the small sats. In some sense,
people
right?
have moved towards small sats, and you can do amazing things with smaller satellites. And some of the reason are not entirely technical. They have to do with, territory and empires and so forth, which is too complex to unwind right now, especially in my current mental state. But
it all goes into the cost side of the ledger.
But for weather, you really do need extremely sensitive, extremely low noise measurements of both microwave and infrared information. And you also would like, it's also very useful to have optical imaging as well. Although the computer models generally, all they want to know is what's the temperature, what's the pressure, what's the humidity, all the way down through that column below you. And they want to know that, they want to be updated on that as often as they can. And from that information, they can generate unbelievable, they've gotten really good at this. They can generate really good forecasts. It's not.
Well, the Europeans can. The Americans can generate okay forecasts.
Well, there's different models, and I'm not going to get into the controversy of whose models are better because I just don't have enough expertise to tell you. But I
think the Europeans' models are better. But
my job is to get them the information they need, right? To run that. Meteorology is something I find rather mysterious. The fact that they can predict weather at all is
it's impressive.
It's impressive. And the fact that they do it, it's gotten progressively better over the, about every decade it gets significantly better, roughly. And we got the point now where the hurricane landfall is it used to be, it was over a huge area. Now we can pinpoint it. And so, in terms of the practical applications of weather forecasting, it's really quite good. And we're going from being able to believe a 2-day forecast to being able to believe a 5-day forecast, or even a 6 or 7-day forecast. So,
although I have the sense that this hasn't yet paid out huge dividends, insofar as the last big economically significant landfall was Hurricane Sandy, and it didn't. The forecast was okay, and if we'd given a little bit more faith to some models versus others, maybe we would have gotten a little bit better. But I think we're still waiting on the next, major landfall near a heavily populated center, Hong Kong.
Well, we've been lucky on this continent.
Yeah, the U.S. has been
out on the Pacific. Things are much worse. We haven't had anything like Katrina in a long time.
No, I think that
since Katrina,
Asia or America will see something in the next few years that'll kind of validate the kind of public utility of these programs.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to send out some more invitations. I have to concentrate on that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine, Chiro.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, long time no see.
Hey, Patrick. How are you?
Hey, Patrick.
How you doing?
Your mic sounds great, Chiro.
Thank you. Yeah, I usually have technical difficulties, so I just want to make sure that.
Yeah, you've been Mr. Noise over there.
Is this pretty clear now, or?
It's clear. Great. Yeah, it's a little bit. I have to say it's a little
echoey.
No, there's no echo.
It's heavy on the bass.
Yeah, it's a little. You need a low cut.
It's all about that bass. About that bass.
Oh, it's not about that. Stupid.
I can play with the equalizer a little bit here.
Well, that's all right. Don't worry about it. I don't know. Maybe it's the Hangout doing that to you.
That could be.
Come on. What is this? Oh, never mind.
I have to vent. I've been for the past 2 weeks. I've been talking with a guy who thinks that the moon landings were faked. And
Wait a minute.
I normally,
You wasted how much time talking to a guy who thought that?
well, this is the first guy that I really haven't gotten any traction with. I mean, most of the time when I talk to people who are into this, you know, they are actually you know, interested in science, and you know, that's what has kind of drawn them into this conspiracy environment and these sources. But in this case, you know, when I explain like one thing after another and show how he's been lied to over and over and over and over, it doesn't seem to have any impact. And I finally sent him an email. I said, you know, I feel like I'm talking to a very staunch
Stupid person.
like somebody who's in a religion, or somebody who's like a political partisan, where you can't get traction based on facts and evidence.
Buck, do you know who Joe Rogan is?
I've heard of him. Is he a UFO guy?
He's an actor and mixed martial arts guy, mixed martial arts. He has a very popular podcast, but he's makes a habit of engaging with the flat Earth type people, and so every now and then he like goes off on a rant about how much he hates these flat earthers who like he just can't like make any progress with. And you're sounding like him right now. You know, at some point you just gotta sign off and just stop trying. You know, like.
Yeah, that's what I did. I got so sick of the stupidity that I said, okay, all you guys just you know, go ride your stupid riverboat. And
I think this is a really important problem.
I say this as a conspiracy theorist, you know. I don't believe in the Warren Commission report, but
don't you know that the Earth is flat? You know,
I am with
was
you.
just a hoax, and you know.
Sam, I'm with you on that assassination, but we have like things we believe, and then we have degrees of belief.
Yes, I agree basically, yeah.
My degree of belief in the conspiracy has weakened. So new information has come to light, and I am less certain about purported anomalies with the Oswald lone gunman theory than I was before.
I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt on that. It's not something I spend a lot of time thinking about, but like
if you studied this at all, it was the change of Kennedy's motorcade route, and apparently the change was based on a little line drawing that had appeared in one of the papers that didn't show the level of detail that another drawing of the motorcade route took, and that there wasn't actually any nefarious change. And when I researched it, I was like, you know what? There doesn't appear to be any nefarious change, which is not to say
beyond my level of expertise.
Oh, okay.
But
well, on that particular detail, I had to say, you know what? They have convinced me that this. To me, the most damning thing was an FBI recording of a guy in Florida who said that they were going to kill Kennedy in the South, that the plans were in motion, and it was going to happen. It was going to be somewhere in the South, and it was you know, this was like 6 weeks before he was killed.
Who's they here? The CIA?
No, this was an FBI. They had an informant in Florida, I believe it was, who had he had like the kind of surveillance they did was big reel-to-reel tape recorders that they had like above the ceiling in one of his closets. And he was meeting with somebody, and they started talking about you know, this mobster or whatever started talking about how much they hated Kennedy, and this was going to happen. Not that mobsters you know, having drunk you know, conversations in some informant's apartment are that reliable, but you know, if somebody says, well, this is in the works, it's going to happen, it'll be in the South, and then that happens, you know, normally that would be considered by law enforcement to be premeditation.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Like, I mean, I'm just saying that my broad perspective is relatively sympathetic to conspiratorial thinking. Like, Kennedy assassination, like, I don't know what happened, but like, I don't buy the official count necessarily. The Göbekli Tepe civilization, I don't know what's going on. The ancient civilization in Turkey at the Göbekli Tepe site. You should ask Nick Nielsen about that sometime. He knows a lot about that.
Okay, could you move your could you angle your camera up a bit?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, there.
And then the what's the one the Sphinx water erosion hypothesis. That's one I really like. That's a good conspiracy theory.
It is? That's a conspiracy?
The idea that the Sphinx has been eroded by water because the climate has changed in that region in the last few thousand years.
I didn't know that was a controversial theory.
Oh, it's definitely controversial, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
who's preparing for the August 21st solar eclipse?
Is that the U.S.-wide one?
It's good. Well, I'm here in New Jersey. It's going to be about 75%. I'm not sure exactly, but it's going to be, I think, somewhere in the middle. It's going to be total.
Is it at a good time of day for viewing in your area?
For me, it's going to be starting around 12 noon. I have to be prepared to start projecting the sun around 12 noon. Everything have to be set up. It'll probably run till.
How total is it?
3. It'll be total for some parts of the United States.
Tennessee is going to have a great view.
Yeah,
it'll be total in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Oh, I have to tell somebody that because I know somebody from Tennessee that's here.
I know lots of people in Tennessee, but the fact is that I'm going to make a guilty admission here. I think solar eclipses are really boring.
Well, are people prophesying the end times?
Well, you have to understand
the fact that we already know exactly what's going to happen makes it uninteresting to me.
Stop watching
the crazy people who don't know what's going to happen because they don't know.
Here's the thing. The last time there was a total solar
not going to come back.
The last time there was a total solar eclipse in the United States was something like 40 years ago. I'm pushing 58. I'll be 58 in June. Was part of the 40 years ago solar eclipse, except that I was a child looking through some welding shield trying to see this glimpse of this tiny dot in my eyes, and I really didn't get a good look at it.
The last time an eclipse was really important was like
but I've got this telescope now, and here I am, child again, and I've got this solar projection screen that I made out of this cardboard display box, and I'm going to get an image of anywhere between 15 and 18 inches in diameter of the sun on my screen. Clouds forgiving.
No, but maybe Paul's right. Maybe nowadays the important solar eclipses are the ones in regions of the world that are more superstitious.
The important ones were generations ago when they first, they were looking for the planet Vulcan and thought they'd found it. When Eddington measured Einstein's deflection of starlight.
I was thinking of that one.
For real scientists out there, you could do real science. Even somebody like me would be. I can do real science. I can clock the exact first touch of the shadow and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but you're not going to get that accurate enough to be scientifically
still
valid.
It doesn't matter. It's about the science. It's about the spectacle. It's about the theatrics.
I think it's about the.
I'm going to sit back there with my barbecue grill going, hooking up hamburgers and hot dogs, sitting at around this theater-like
now
thing.
The hamburgers and hot dogs I'm down
watching an image of the sun that's 18 inches in diameter, watching this partial solar eclipse. I mean, come on.
Okay, somebody just joined the call.
I think that's cool, but I think it's about the sociology. It's about like where the solar eclipse is causing people to totally freak the fuck out, and governments will be brought down by the solar eclipse. Like,
I don't pay attention to that nonsense.
No, but like Venezuela is like about to go up in flames.
It's like science enthusiast. It doesn't say bullshit extraordinaire. It says a science enthusiast.
No, but what if the solar eclipse is what it takes to like bring down Maduro's government in Venezuela? That'd be kind of
whatever.
I don't think that'll happen.
Let me put it this way: we talk like that, you're not invited.
He's already doing everything he can to bring his government down.
Or North Korea,
Well, like I said, we talk like that, you're not invited to the barbecue.
Hey, we just had somebody join. Your mic is muted. You're identified as May Bemi.
How you guys doing? I'm the leader of the ex-Jehovah's Witness movement. How you guys doing?
Hey.
Of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses? Oh, okay, cool. Your audio is a little bit indistinct, but keep going.
Do you guys talk about religion on here, or just stick to with
Whatever
politics?
you want. The pub is wide open.
All right, Jesus is a baby killer. How do you guys feel about that?
Jesus is a what?
Baby killer.
Doesn't strike me as a lot of evidence for that. Go on.
You guys ever heard of Maltheism?
Mafiaism? Is that the religion of the mafia?
No, it's malware, Maltheism. I believe God is cruel.
Malthusianism?
Maltheism.
Maltheism. Got it.
Yeah, like brain in a vat with evil genius.
I have not heard of that before.
Is that any different from Satanism, which basically believe that God is the bad guy?
Well, Satan is the bad guy also.
Oh, well, not if you're a Satanist.
Yeah.
And not that
You
I'm a
guys
Satanist.
go to
I'm not,
church?
But,
Sorry?
Do you guys go to organized religion?
Well, I don't.
No, I don't. In fact, I'm a son of a bitch of an atheist.
They still
Yes.
have that?
Same
Organized
here.
religion?
It's better if you're an apatheist, which means that you don't care if there's a God or not.
No, don't tell me what's better. I'm telling you what I am. If you don't like it, then
A very, very Patrick response.
All right. You're 20 years older than me. I'll respect that.
I told you I'm a son of a bitch of an atheist. If you're gonna tell me what's better and what's not better, I'm gonna tell you go fuck off.
Right. Just keeping it real.
That's it. That's it. I'm
Science
realist.
enthusiast.
You put that on there too. Science enthusiast and realist.
Now, did you say you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness?
Yes. We debate all. That's how I'm the leader. I won all the debates.
Well, is that hard?
Well, it's a little group, you know. We're only a
Well,
few.
Jehovah's Witnesses make a lot of claims that they can't support. So, I mean, when you say win a debate, are you dealing with evidence and reason, or are you dealing with who could show?
No. Whoever backs down. Whoever says I had enough of this insanity.
I see. Well, tell me something about being a Jehovah's Witness. Tell me about before you were an ex.
Sure. No problem. We used to believe that. I used to believe that since 1914, God's kingdom was here on the planet.
1914?
Yes,
Yeah.
that Jesus
What
returned.
happened? What happened in 1914?
Jesus returned to the planet.
Is that a standard Jehovah's
Wait a minute.
Witness
That's when
belief?
World War I started, right? So,
Yes, they used that.
so Jesus was probably a bit of an asshole then.
Yeah. Well, they consider, not me, but the Jehovah's Witnesses consider him as one of the horsemen, the one in the white.
That's a very weird belief.
Is this
Keep,
like a
keep going. You're getting
Well,
interested.
I'm definitely interested. Is this like a mainstream Jehovah's Witness teaching that 1914 is a crucial year?
Oh yeah, it's they can't get away from it. If they get away from it, their religion crumbles.
Do other sects of Christianity believe in 1914 as a specifically important year, or is it just Jehovah's Witnesses?
No, it was just that started.
I got a lot of breakup on that and didn't hear.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of that.
It's
Sorry.
a biblical interpretation, right? That the Jehovah Witness have.
Yes, they use the Bible, some Bible chronology.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've never heard of that. Whereas, given the fact of it coinciding with World War I, you would think that would be more well known as a numerological,
Yeah. I have to Google
numerologically important date in the Bible.
I found it by Googling it, but I was not aware of it either, though. But yeah, you can find it by Googling it.
Well, I think there's a lot of crazy beliefs out there that there's not really, you know. I've spent the last 2 weeks learning all kinds of stuff that I never heard of.
Yeah, I keep hearing people talking about flat Earth. Okay, we're done with that, people. We figured that out thousands of years ago. The ancient Greeks knew the Earth wasn't flat.
You're done with that, Paul.
Why are we revisiting that?
You're done with it. Many people are not yet done with it.
Well, I don't care. I really don't.
why was the flat Earth model a revolutionary advance?
You mean the transition from the round earthers back to the flat earthers? Like why?
No,
There
I
was
mean,
never,
I mean,
there was never such a transition.
There was
yeah,
a point, there was a point
absolutely.
between
There
the
was a time when humans did not create maps of the flat maps of and their environs, like beyond what they could see.
I mean, I don't know the history well enough, but like this was clearly culturally specific, right? I mean, it must have varied across the earth. You know, roughly speaking, 2,000 years ago or so, it was well accepted the earth was round, right? That's
Yeah.
my
The ancient Greeks knew that.
it was well accepted among some subset of peoples in some subsets of geographies, right?
Right. Mhm.
And then, roughly speaking, 1,000 years ago, it was less well accepted. And, you know,
Yeah,
Well, I'm not talking
we
about
call that the
reversion.
Dark Ages.
Yeah, I'm not talking about reversion. I'm talking about
no, but like that
when we
reversion,
first came up with the idea of using maps for flat representations of the Earth's surface, and that you could imagine you were in a different place looking down upon terrain.
oh, well, that seems easy to me. That was like some smart guy came up with the idea of a projection from a three-dimensional geometry onto two-dimensional geometry. And that smart guy was like, oh, I understand why this is useful. But like dumb people didn't quite understand the point. You know, like that's not rocket science to me. Like I think a lot of people could misunderstand the abstraction that's inherent in the idea of, for example, a stereographic projection from a sphere onto a flat.
Oh, it wouldn't even occur to them that such a thing existed.
Okay,
Wait,
so
could you-
but
I'm sorry,
you know,
could you repeat that?
some smart guy comes up with the idea of stereographic projection, right? He's like, oh, I think the Earth is round. Therefore, this particular way of projecting, you know, shine a light from a bulb at the North Pole and like look at the shadow of the spherical Earth on a flat piece of paper and say, that's the map that I'm going to use to represent the round Earth. You know, that's a good idea. Mathematically,
Yeah,
it's a
but
very
I'm talking
elegant
about-
thing. And,
I'm talking
you know,
about a much older idea. I'm
What's
talking about an idea where we could take a stick in the mud and draw like the river, rather than what they did before, which was make up stories and songs about how you get from point A to point B, where you would say sing a song a certain number of times while you're going toward a certain mountain. And then you'll reach a rock or a stump that looks like a particular animal.
I'm
and
sorry.
then you'll
That's
Buck,
kind
do
of,
this
Do
or
you know
that.
any of these songs?
I mean, I
Sing
can
one for
imagine.
us.
I'm sorry, that's kind of a leap. I can imagine cavemen drawing, you know, lines in dirt. You know,
No, they knew
You
about
weren't-
the
I
North
wasn't
Star
there or anything like that, but you
a
know what I'm
million
saying?
years ago. I mean, people could navigate by the stars a long time ago. They
Yeah.
could navigate by the sun a long time ago. It wasn't just
Yeah.
landmarks. They were. I mean, we know that because people found their way
well, the Greeks
to
have very
Australia at least 40
also
years ago.
the Greeks have very
Well-
precise calculations of like the radius of the Earth. You know, like
Right. And Paul,
you know,
I'm not
like
saying, Paul, I'm not denying any of that. That you said nothing as a counter argument with which I would deny in the slightest.
Well, what are you claiming? That's
Are you
what I'm-
talking? Are you talking
I'm
about
claiming
the,
that
like
there was a
folk
shift.
knowledge of geography versus like elite knowledge of geography, or
And well, somewhat, but I'm more concerned, from a pragmatic view of how people primarily navigated, and that there was a change from the time when people didn't use flat representations of their environment, and then that became the de facto standard.
well, so
and-
here's something I'm actually curious about is like actual sailors in the Dark Ages still
Mhm.
had to like know where the hell they were going, and so like it's one thing for like the king to be a moron and think that the Earth is flat. It's another thing for his naval, his chief admiral, to tell his chief captains to navigate using faulty geographic knowledge. I don't know whether, in fact, the actual say, navigational knowledge of the round Earth was actually lost between the Roman times and the Dark Ages? Like, do you think it was lost? Was it?
Well, I think there's always I'm very hesitant to underestimate the stupidity of groups of people. So I would say that you could find examples of all kinds of knowledge of the round Earth that you're talking about that were
like,
lost.
I'm sure there's still
And we can find people
labs and various sophisticated devices for determining their location.
I'm going
to those periods.
I'm going to way less advanced. I'm referring to way less advanced civilizations than would or cultures, I should say.
But did those cultures
an astrolabe?
But did those cultures have a pre-existing knowledge of the round Earth? Like, that's what I'm confused about. Like,
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not when it was lost. I'm talking about when this idea of being able to represent your world in a flat way for navigation came about, and that this was a technology that we didn't have this like when we were proto-humans. And then we got this ability, and it's an ability that is really valuable, and we continue to use when we look at Google Maps. Now, that's a far cry from people who are claiming now that the Earth is actually physically flat.
There was something lost in the recent, and that is when the electric light was born. The average person started to lose sight of these stars. Back in the Dark Ages, the skies were black and dark, and there was no light pollution, and you couldn't help but notice. But as the cities grew and lighting started to become a thing, as soon as the electric light was born, the average person started to lose the wonder of the sky. So sometimes people got stupider, while the smart people who invented all this stuff stayed, So there is that downfall of some of the population getting literally stupider just because of the lack of the wonder of the visual effect.
Well, I think it's a tragedy. I'm not sure I can say that people's intelligence actually went down. I would say maybe that their intelligence got directed different ways.
Well, it's not just the wonder or the intelligence; it's like the physical detectability of the of certain stars, right? I mean, it's not so clear it's relevant for the important stars, right? Like the brightest stars are still visible even with light pollution, but like
it's. But you have no idea how spectacular the sky actually looks in a really. They say that out in the middle of the ocean,
I mean, you can just
miles away from any land is the darkest place.
You can just go to Montana, or you can go to Australia, and you can still see a pretty impressive.
You start to get a gist of what it could be like when in the Dark Ages, but literally, it's still never going to be the same.
Right, but my point is just that it's a loss of fidelity. It's not a. You don't lose all of the anchor points. You lose some information.
The darkest place I ever was High Point, New Jersey. And I was amazed because I never in my life realized that the Milky Way stretched from horizon to horizon, and I could actually see the Andromeda Galaxy with the naked eye.
Patrick, you got to go to Australia.
And that was still in a light polluted New Jersey.
I highly recommend you go to Australia. Go to the Outback.
Yeah, I would love to. But
it's amazing.
As it is, I'm stuck here in New Jersey.
That first of all, it's the southern versus northern hemisphere thing. It'll throw your whole.
That's another thing I've never seen. I've never seen the southern hemisphere's.
Right. It'll throw your whole astronomy game off. All the constellations are different. But also,
by the way, that just brought you that just made me reconsider your invitation. You are now re-invited to the barbecue.
But also,
I can stick my webcam out the window, and you could look at the southern skies.
You're in Colorado, right, Buck?
I'm in Patagonia.
Go ahead and do that. We'll look at it.
Buck, you're in Chile? That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Buck is one of those people in this particular hangout that sees more stars than any of us, I think.
Well, I mean, he's not that far from the European Southern Observatory.
Yeah, Buck, what do you do for a living? Why are you in Chile?
Well, I've been teaching online, and I'm trying to move back to the States full time. My camera just okay. Wait, let me try it over here.
You know, the best guys I ever saw was in
there you go. That's it.
not sensitive enough. Sorry, not seeing anything. Try again.
It's
Turn your
funny
lights
how,
off.
like, well, when you get like a light sensor, like a webcam that's just not designed for this purpose, it's always
Yeah, it's
depressing
not.
to realize you just can't pick up these things, you know? Because you can see it so clearly with your eyes, and you like it looks like a perfectly good sensor for normal purposes, but
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many cameras cannot see any stars at all in the sky.
yeah.
Oh, quick, not to change the subject, quick reference. It seems like the toolbox is back and they're not finished fixing it up. It seems like we got the lower third back, which I'm just trying to use, and so is Chiro.
The
Well,
toolbox, has the toolbox not been deprecated?
It's back, but it's different. And Kiro and I are both using it just now, just to try out the lower
Yeah.
third.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, yeah, the lower third. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
lower third, but it's
Yeah, I think they got a lot of complaints when they said, "Oh, we're deprecating the toolbox," and then people said, "What?"
Yeah, but now the color choices are your basic colors. It's red,
Yeah.
blue, yellow,
yeah,
and
they
green.
changed it. They changed a bit.
Okay.
This is the Hangout toolbox.
Yeah.
What is it good for?
Oh, you can put a lower third in there.
What is it good for? If you can't eat it, what is it good for?
I can't even figure out how to use it, to be honest. But like, I think
Okay,
it's
well, do I have one now? I think I have one now.
Yeah. You do.
Yeah,
Uh,
I changed mine to Patman and Science Enthusiast.
let's see. I
I
don't want.
I didn't change it.
Oh, green. Okay, I just changed it to green.
Wait, let me change mine to Patman. Let me see. Where is that? All right, here we go. Let me turn it off.
I mean, from my point of view, it looks mirror image or backwards.
Yeah, you could change that too. There's a button up there.
Where is that?
It's that little computer looking thing.
That little computer looking thing.
It's the button next to the on off switch.
I don't see it.
There we go. Now I'm Patman. And this is the Pat Cave.
It looks like a briefcase.
Briefcase, computer thing. I don't know. It says lower on the top. It says lower third. Then there's this little symbol that if you hover over, it'll say mirror your video. And then there's the on and off switch.
Oh, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Okay. I thought you were talking about the actual switch for the old thing.
We won't see it from here. It looks normal to us from here.
Okay. Oh, there I am. All right.
All right. I have an unrelated topic. Did any of you read Nick Nielsen's blog post on diachronic versus synchronic histories today?
No, I didn't.
No. Sorry.
No.
That's unfortunate because I was hoping one of you could explain it to me.
Well, I thought I invited Nick, but he doesn't show up. I'll try one more time.
He said he had to run an errand, I think, and would be in like 45 minutes, which was like 15
Well, that's
minutes.
good for an Eli 5.
Yeah.
Here's an unrelated subject for you. Did anybody notice my
Space Web Telescope.
yeah?
Yeah, I saw it.
You know, it's in Houston now. So it can't be there.
I forget what hangout. I was either in this hangout, the Unseen Podcast hangout, or another hangout. Somebody had the Lego JWST telescope mirror, and they were all talking about you can't get them anymore and all stuff. You know, from there I said, you know what, I'm going to make my own, and I did.
Well, you know what? In a year and a half, if everything goes well, we'll have a real one in orbit. Oh, there's
Mike
there he
Mongo.
is. His lordship.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Mongo.
Hollywood Mike.
Long time no see.
Mike Mongo.
I invited Nick Nielsen. I get Mike Mongo.
Too bad.
Come on.
Too bad that Mike was not with us when the other gentleman was in the conversation. That would have been fun.
Well, he dropped out as soon as we started diverging from Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
I was hoping I was going to get him out when I told him I was a son of a bitch.
Okay, no punching sharks tonight. Let's talk about something else.
Wow, it's only this far into the conversation. You guys are already this live.
Oh, we've been live for half an hour.
No, we had this cool guy who just showed up. He wants to talk to Jehovah's Witnesses. You know.
Then I told him I was a son of a bitch of an atheist, and he disappeared.
Oh, really?
Well, I think he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness who's still a Christian or something like that.
Right.
So
He seemed like he was in relatively good faith. I just know how he found us.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd be curious to know. Like,
Well, he bailed.
No,
Well, how did he get an invite? I thought you had to have an invite to get in here.
he was just expecting. He was expecting more outrageous reactions on our part. You know, like that we were going to be kind of shocked by his commentaries, and we were all like, whatever.
Yep.
yeah.
Well, no, I was interested in hearing about
Right.
about how you make that journey from Jehovah's Witness to ex-Jehovah's Witness.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he didn't really want to talk about that.
Right.
He says, I beat them in debates.
I did. You asked.
In answer to Patrick's question, Paul's very easy with the invites. He's not very stingy at all.
Well, Unseen Podcast. I mean, come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
not like, we're not the red carpet.
No, I put this out on Twitter. Anybody who wants to join in can.
That's probably why.
It's like Callahan's Cross Time Saloon.
Yeah, I mean, hey, stranger, where are you from?
When is the
Exactly.
next Unseen podcast anyway? I haven't.
Are they
been
good for
very
the game?
Well,
That's the question.
it'll be 1 week from tonight,
Oh, really?
and David is hosting,
Oh, okay.
and we'll have a special guest. We have a special guest named. I keep thinking of Morgan Irons, but it's not her. It's somebody else who's a young
Kimberly.
graduate student.
Kimberly.
And she's sorry,
Yeah,
what
that's right.
Chiro, you remember?
Kimberly Cartier.
Kimberly something.
Kimberly Cartier.
Yeah, no, not Kimberly. That's Ruth.
Oh, that's Adam. That's Adam.
Kimberly Cartier just got her PhD, by the way. Congratulations, Dr. Cartier.
And even Morgan got it, the PhD. You guys.
No,
don't-
it's somebody else. Whose name is escaping me right now. Which I'm sorry. I apologize if you're listening. But she's going to talk about epidemiology in space colonies.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Madison Campbell is the name.
Madison Campbell, right? Yeah,
I can,
she's a grad student at UMass.
I'll have to see if I can engage in
I
the,
love having young scientists on, especially young lady scientists who are kind of showing other younger girls what can be done. So yeah, we had Morgan Irons on, and she's a great example of
I'll have to see if I can engage in the topics
yeah,
or something.
please do. Now David's going to pick the panel, not me. But-
I've been kind of like absent from Google for the last few weeks. I'm expecting a new pair of glasses, so maybe
there's Nick.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Nick is
no,
here.
not Nick. Project Astrolabe, excuse me.
Wait, Nick Nielsen's here? Okay, now it's a party. Nick, I thought you were here the whole time.
I like
That's why I was
to
hanging out.
I think of him as Geopoliticraticus.
Geopolycraticus.
Yes.
No, he's also Project Astrolabe, which I never could straighten that out.
I knew him first as Geopolycraticus. I did.
You knew him before he was a big shot. Okay.
What did I miss?
I think that Nick and I met in 2012.
Now, Nick, I have a question for you.
Okay.
A burning question. You live right on the water in Portland?
Well,
Indeed,
awesome.
I do. I live in the Columbia River in a floating home.
Awesome.
It's
Okay,
great. It's great.
Would you
for
like to
swimming
trade
in
lives with me?
Well, I saw you posted some photo of ducks.
a duck.
A
Yeah, a duck.
nesting
a duck-
in your flower pot, which I was actually
Duck.
pretty jealous of. But
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by that. She's still there today, and my mom said I have to feed her, so I'm going to try to feed her later today or tomorrow, and see if I can get to her without. She gets really agitated when I get close because, of course, she's guarding a clutch of eggs. So I suppose I will soon have ducklings on my deck.
or duck eggs that you can eat. That might be
Or an
Ducklings on
omelet. I was gonna
Ducklings
say-
on my deck. That's your next book.
Omelette on my deck, indeed.
Hey, Nick, real quick.
Hey, Nick, real quick.
Is the solar eclipse of August 21st, is that going to be total for you, or is that going to be partial for you? I don't remember exactly.
I think it's going to be near total. I can't say for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to get like 70 to 75% here. I
But
don't
it will
know
be
exactly.
raining and cloudy on that day.
So what
Yeah, with
happens
my
to
luck, it'll be raining and cloudy here. With my
what
luck.
happens to a Portland hipster when the sun goes dark? Do they just freak out or
Well, I guess I'll have an opportunity to find out. We could go down on Northwest 23rd or out to Hawthorne and like stake a place out on the sidewalk and conduct a scientific observation of what happens to hipsters when the sun goes behind the moon.
Yeah, my brother used to live there, but now he's in San Francisco, so it's it ruined the experiment.
Oh, there are no hipsters in San Francisco at all.
No, just venture capitalists.
I thought that was Palo Alto.
Okay, well, they're not invited to my party either.
I like both towns actually, but the hipsters are everywhere, and dissing hipsters is one of my favorite sports.
That's true of everyone, I think.
That's true across this. I know people both on the left and on the right who say mean things about hipsters, so it seems to be politically neutral to diss hipsters.
You can see the path of the eclipse in the state of Oregon on my screen right now.
Yes.
I see a Borg on your screen.
A what?
Let me just click on.
Oh no. Okay. What's
what is
that?
that? There it is.
What?
Hold on.
That's the path of totality. Okay, I see.
Oh, okay, got it. All right.
Oh,
Okay.
I guess that's pretty close to Portland, but not quite.
Yeah, just south of Portland. So Salem is right in the midst of totality, and then large chunks of eastern Oregon. I've heard that all the motels are already booked off for the entire path of the totality.
No way, man.
I went to there's an astronomers club in Portland called Rose City Astronomers, and they had Les of Starship Engineers. What's his last name? I can't remember. He came to Portland last month, and I listened to him talk there. But
LeVar Burton?
No. Les of Starship Engineers. I can't remember his last. I'll Google it in case you don't know what I'm talking about. He's doing a speaking tour right now. Anyway, because it was an astronomy club, they were talking about it on very explicit terms, and they said, yeah, every motel room in the path of totality has already been reserved.
Somebody actually checked every hotel in the path of totality, and I'm skeptical.
Well, I can't guarantee their thoroughness, but I can guarantee that this was what was said.
Yes, well, that's a common phenomenon.
Show me New Jersey.
People tell me.
Show me New Jersey. Giro. Oh, Tennessee. Okay.
Chiro's got his mic.
I can find the Jersey map. They don't have every state. They just got the ones that are impacted by the. By the
South
path.
Carolina's gonna be nice and hot, and but a good place to go to the beaches.
Yeah, the map doesn't go up to New Jersey because it's auto path.
Okay, so I'm gonna get like 70 to 75%. I don't know the exact number. I
Yes.
have the
75.
simulation, that shows it. But
Yeah, you get 75%. You should get some 75%, I think.
yeah, I'm
The thing is,
I'm
they
there to
can
see
predict
something.
these very accurately 200 years ago. So that's why I think historically it's quite interesting how eclipses have been important, but I'm still bored by them. I'm sorry.
It seems like worth it to
Can
go
you
down to
magnify that?
I think I want to go down to Charleston for it. Like, why not? Like, why else would I go to Charleston?
That's an excellent question. I started a newspaper in Charleston, South Carolina called the Charleston City Paper. It's the second largest newspaper in Charleston. I lived there for 4 years.
You founded it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is it still operational?
Yeah.
So I should go. I'll check it out. Let you know how it's going.
Yeah. There's an article. What happened to Mongo or something like that, and because I was at college then, I was at the College of Charleston, throwing parties, and I got kicked out of the College of Charleston because they had this party with the village people, which was just incredible. And that was the second college I got kicked out of, and so I was there for a little fight, but I had created the newspaper, and so I stuck around until I sold the newspaper, and then I went to Berkeley and across the country, and that's a whole nother story. But Charleston is when I was there, that was 91 to 94. That place was nowhereville, and now it's really upscale.
I've actually heard it's pretty cool. Like,
I mean, it's got a thing
it's
going.
like a restaurant scene, like it's kind of hip.
It's not Austin.
It might be.
But it has enough hipsters that we can disrespect them.
It might be like
No,
next.
it's not.
I
No,
think
it's
it's
not
like
like that
next-
at all, you guys.
I think it's
It
like
isn't.
next
It isn't.
Austin.
No, it
I
isn't.
think Austin is like old school
No.
Charleston.
No, the next Austin is Asheville.
Yeah, really.
You think so?
Asheville is a cool town.
Asheville. Did you say Asheville?
Yeah,
I love that town.
they have one of the best bookstores I've ever been in. And this is not a big city. This is a small city.
What's
Asheville
so
is
impressive
a-
about the bookstore?
It was everything you want in a bookstore. A lot of books, coffee, good coffee, people milling around looking at books, not at toys or videos. Beautiful.
All right, so here's my controversial opinion. What's so great about what is great about bookstores? You know, what do they have to offer?
What?
They smell like old books.
That's a value judgment, which I don't think I can.
No, I don't
share
think
with
it's
you.
a value judgment. I think it's an objective question.
What? That's a horrible question. Who's asking this? Why is
I'm-
this question being asked?
No, I'm pretty serious about this. Like, you know,
Serendipity. It's about going into a bookstore
There's-
and looking for one thing,
yes,
Yeah.
not finding it and finding something else.
No, I don't
That's
look for it. I
right.
just look
That's
around
right.
and I go, "Oh my God! I had no idea this was here."
fair
You know,
enough.
This
fair
book,
enough.
this
Right.
book is terrifying to me.
Nick has
I run-
hit upon
I
the
run
one.
into other readers and thinkers at bookstores.
I don't think that happens in a substantial fraction of the time.
Well, you can talk to people if you want to.
No, but people who like to read don't like to talk to people. Like,
Well, no, they do actually.
no,
Actually,
no,
you know,
not
the
really.
the Barnes and Noble.
Not really. They don't really like to talk to people. Like,
The Barnes and Noble where I live, somewhere near here, is they've got a whole thing where they got a kids section where they actually have they read to the kids and stuff. There's a whole thing going on there.
Yeah, my kids.
Okay,
I take my
alright,
kids to
fine,
the Barnes
that's-
and Noble at Bethesda all the time.
sure, fine. You can take your kids to the movies anywhere, but like, I mean,
Now you're drawing for straws. You asked, you know,
Yeah.
what are they good for? What what do they offer? Come on, I'm
They
telling you
offer
what they
books.
offer.
They have
Besides
books
books, they offer.
and
Yeah,
coffee.
I think you're
But
trolling.
mostly books.
all right, I'm mostly trolling, but like,
Back,
Yeah,
back before Portland was a hipster haven, I had a apartment out on the east side within walking distance of
Powell's?
Hawthorne, which had a whole string of used bookstores. So every weekend I would just go spend hours going from used bookstore to used bookstore, and I found
Right,
a lot of stuff that way.
but did
Yeah.
you ever? But at the end of the day, did you buy from anybody except Powell's?
Oh yeah.
So, like, I
yeah.
learned recently that Amazon got its start not by like providing books at a better service at a better price, but by reselling Powell's books at a better price. You know, like Amazon's business model for the first few years was to buy books from Powell's and then resell them on the website, which is pretty funny. But
That is pretty funny because when way long years ago when Powell's used to be more reasonable, but their book buyers now are pretty savvy, and they know when the book is worth something, and they don't, you can't, because you find it's pretty rare to find a good deal there now, but there still are used bookstores that you can find deals, and I honestly buy far more books from the Goodwill bookstore than I buy from Powell's.
All right, so here's why I love Powell's. How do I do this thing that we share the screen share thing? Entire screen.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah, and then I go here.
I will make that happen.
I'm already on it. So this past year, one of my book was a bestseller at Powell's, and that was like, I mean, like that's one of my favorite bookstores in the nation. And
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so I mean, I've been a bestseller. I've had a best-selling children's book on Amazon 2 years in a row for the holiday season. But having a bestseller at Powell's bookstore, you know, you have to, if you're in Portland and you're, I mean, it's an experience. Sam was asking, like, why do people go to bookstores? There is definitely, and to talk with people who work at bookstores, that's one of my favorite experiences. People who work at bookstores are like the people that used to work at record stores. They are a font of information. They know everything. They know so much about different things. They're a lot of times people like Nick Nielsen work at bookstores. As a matter of fact.
Have you been invited to speak at Powell's?
No, not
Mike?
yet. Not yet.
Well, you should speak there.
I should. I'll have to check in with that. I'll have to.
No, you guys are obviously correct. Like I'm
the
exaggerating for effect. Like I agree that obviously bookstores have value, but it's decreasing all the time. I think it's undeniable.
Do you have a record player, Sam?
No, and
Isn't that a shame? Isn't that a shame?
not
That's a
really.
real
because
shame. It really is, actually.
It
Yeah, do
actually-
you like music?
I
When
do
did you
like
stop
music.
liking music? That's the question.
I still like
When did you
music.
stop liking music?
I haven't
Well,
lost
actually, the
my
other
love
one
of
was,
music.
when did you stop liking books?
My lack of music.
And why don't you like books, Sam? Did
I
you-
love books. and I
Okay,
love
okay.
music.
Stop. You can stop with the interrogating Sam.
No, I'm just throwing. He was the one that started. He was trolling.
He likes music. We
All right.
established that.
I like both. I like both books and music and
Well,
records.
it's kind of funny that Mike should say things about the records. I just recently, in the last couple of months, I took all of my 140 some odd albums and brought them to the Curiosity Shop to sell.
40. You mean
140.
4,000, right? 4,000, right?
140.
40.
140.
140.
I just got a new record.
Patrick, if you're over 40, you've got at least 1,000 either CDs or records.
Men with
Now, I bought all my albums in my
Everybody know this record?
Yeah. Safety Dance.
Men with
Oh my
Hats.
God,
No, it's the whole
I'm-
album. It's
I'm
the
pretty
whole
sure
album.
that my LP collection peaked at like in the low tens.
Now, wait.
That was-
I have to
that
ask
was-
you, Mike. I have to ask you. That's not the commercialized version, is it? It's not the dance version, is it?
Can I show you something? This is the Canadian Backstreet version, man. This is like the real deal. And
Okay.
it's not
Because that was a
12
good
inch.
song
I
until
love
they
the
turned it
safety
into a
dance.
dance.
Hold that
song.
up again. Hold that up again, Mike. I didn't see it.
All right.
Men Without Hats.
Yeah. I mean,
Rhythm
that was a
of
great
You.
song until they turned it into a dance song. Then
But
I
it's a great song. It's
dissed
a
them.
great album. Living in China. I love that song. We got Ping Pong and Fuyong. All of the people that are living in China. I love it's classic new wave stuff. And hold on before we get off. Everybody knows the Safety Dance video, right?
Sure.
I
No.
don't know it. No.
It's classic. Come on.
Yes, I do.
You know
I've
it.
seen it on
So
MTV when it came out.
When did this come out?
In the early days of MTV.
83.
Oh, I never watched that crap.
Come on, MTV. You didn't watch MTV? You're one of those guys.
Yes,
I
I
was
was
one of those guys. Yeah, I,
watch
I,
MTV all the time.
one of those guys into jazz and.
Oh, okay, that's fair. All right, that's
I,
good.
I think there's actually like a very precise.
But not a hipster.
I think there's a very precise generational divide between like Paul, maybe Patrick, I don't know, and like the rest of us. Some of us who are like just a few years younger. Like MTV was a very specific cutoff point in terms of how people think about music.
MTV came out shortly after cable was available in my neighborhood when I was still young enough to be called somewhat of a child.
Call your cable company and tell them, I want
my
MTV.
MTV.
Yeah, not anymore. no.
MTV.
MTV is
I
still
want
there. It's no more music videos like it used to be. Like
Kids watch YouTube. So here's but hold on, before we get carried away, I'm still on Safety Dance. Everybody do most people know the video with the girl dancing in it?
It's been a long time since I've seen
The
that.
crazy blonde-haired girl bouncing around.
That would be.
I remember the pole, the dancing pole, that thing they had.
Yeah, there's the Mayfair pole. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's
It's
a
a
girl,
very vague description.
a blonde woman dancing around a Mayfair pole and being followed by short people. Remember? The blonde woman is Justin Trudeau's mom. Margaret Trudeau. I swear to goodness.
No, wait a minute. She was like a celebrity.
Where do you learn this stuff?
She was never blonde.
BBC4. They reported it on it, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And then I validated it, and
all right. So you seem to know a lot about the timelines. So my memory is not so great. I'm like pushing 58 here.
I remember Britt Eklund and.
So which was first? Was the
Wicker
Safety
Man.
Dance first, or was the Eurythmics Sweet Dreams first?
which was first? What's the question?
Sweet Dreams or the Safety Dance?
I'd say Safety Dance.
Safety Dance was first because I remember I still like that song Eurythmics Sweet Dreams, and that's where I first saw it was on MTV.
Same year.
That's a great. That's a
Same
great
year.
song. I mean,
It's the same year, 83. I'm looking at it right now.
That's why I can't remember which was
Yeah.
first, because it was the same time.
1983.
That was a great year for new wave music. If you're into it, that was a thing. Yeah, 83. Quality
But
time.
I think what Sam has touched on, though, in talking about why do people go to bookstores or why do people go to record stores, or you might also say why do people go to comic book stores? There are very different temperaments of. Mike wants to say something about comic books. Go.
no,
Don't talk about comic book stores.
I think the answer is like 99% they don't.
Yeah, but
Leave comic book stores alone.
we're talking
Comic
about
stores are mostly dead. Like
yeah,
were-
yeah, but
even
Sam,
10 years ago when I was in high school, they were alive, but they're not alive anymore.
He is so not. That's not right.
but there's
Comic
always
books got their start from the 1940s, I think, with the Pulp Fiction magazines. One of them, of which was Amazing Stories, and I one time had my hands on an Amazing Stories copy that had something in it that I wanted, and I didn't have any cash on me at the time, and it was like $10 or something. When I went back there about 3 months later, the guy must have realized the value of this thing, and he wanted $100 for it, and I didn't have $100. So,
but I think there are very different ways that people engage with their interests, and there's some people who would rather stay home and buy books over their computers. But there's some people who are always going to want to go to bookstores. Some people who are always going to want to go to record stores or comic book stores. And yeah, sure, records are never going to be like Tower Records were in the 80s. I mean, these huge mega stores in every big city in the country, but there'll be a small, boutique-y taste, as it were. Just as used bookstores will continue to be a boutique interest for those who want to go, and comic book stores, they won't be commonplace, but you'll still be able to find them.
I'll take the other side of that bet.
Are you describing? Where is this? What is this? Some sort of nightmare? Is it?
no, but there's also the collector. Mike probably likes the idea of having the actual album, just like I have. My eyesight is so bad that lately that I can't read much anymore. But I still collect certain books, like for example, the entire Harry Potter collection, which I even have the British version up there, as you can see. Just to have it there, just to say that I have it.
Yeah, I think you guys are totally wrong. Like,
nice.
I just got this in the mail.
Foundation trilogy. There you go.
All this stuff,
look how thick that is.
That's gonna be completely worthless.
Worthless. That's not why I got it. Do you know what it smells like? Like heaven.
In like 6 years, Magic Leap will have its like augmented reality Harry Potter experience, and people who care about Harry Potter will just get the augmented reality experience, and the book will be irrelevant.
People are going to be reading.
No, you don't get it. You don't get it. It's not always about that. It's about like, I happen to like good writers. Now I also have some audio books of her.
You think you like good writers because you're committed to.
No, I don't think nothing. Don't tell me what I think.
Like the writing medium. You're committed to the writing medium,
other books,
which is like a 20th century medium.
She also wrote other books.
In the 21st century, the 20th century mediums are just irrelevant.
No. She also wrote other books that are not children's books. She created a pen name called Robert Galbraith, and she so far wrote 3 that created a detective character, Cormoran Strike, which so far she's only published 3 of them. But these are not kids' books. She also wrote one under her real name that wasn't a kid's book, but she went to the pen name because apparently some kids picked this up, thinking it was, after all, it's J.K. Rowling, and it turned out to be a very distinct adult book. Sex, drugs, rock and roll, rape, and everything else.
I picked up Harry Potter. I went to the library today. Oh, libraries. Hello. I went to the library today after I got my Isaac Asimov Foundation series trilogy in bound anthology. And by the way, I don't know anything that smells better than an Asimov bound edition of the Foundation trilogy.
But wait, Mike, why did you
Then I went to the library and I got Harry Potter.
Mike, why did you get in paper instead of a Kindle? Why did you get a paper copy of it?
Have you ever smelled?
Hang on, he's telling you.
Have you ever smelled the Kindle edition of the Foundation trilogy?
I smelled it. It's just not as convenient.
So Mike,
come on.
You got it all wrong. They got it all wrong. The
Have you,
smell is
have you ever
completely
smelled,
off.
have you ever smelled the Kindle coming out of the box?
It's
Thank
amazing.
you. Thank you.
It smells like the future. That's
Well,
the
here,
future.
Sam, let me show you something, Sam. I showed this to everybody else that's here, but I'm going to pull it out. I mean, this
Oh,
is
don't show us! Don't show us! He showed everybody else.
no. This
He
is
always shows it.
this is the story that was in Amazing Story, Pulp Fiction magazine back in the 40s, which I only managed to get a hold of through a PDF on a computer. This is Farewell to the Master. Now, let's give you a little trivia question here, Sam. Do you know what this story is?
Farewell to the Master?
Yeah.
I've never heard of it, no.
I do know that story.
Well, have you ever seen the movie, the old one, The Day the Earth Stood Still?
The Day the Earth...
Those are two different movies, right?
I know what The Day the Earth Stood Still is, but I have not seen it. And I do not know what the old
Farewell
one
to
is.
the Master, was the inspiration for that movie, though they've admitted to the fact that it was only based on it and it was changed. The newer one with what's his name?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, thank you. I thought was better. I thought it was closer to the Farewell to the Master story. But this is the story, and it goes back to 1940s.
No, we don't reference the Keanu Reeves version of.
No, but if
Day
you
the
read
Earth
the story, if you read this story and you saw both movies, you wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. To me, the old version, the old movie was corny and stupid compared to the Keanu Reeves version, which went closer to this story because the robot was actually the master.
I just don't watch movies with Keanu Reeves in them. And that's
Right. We all know, like, Keanu Reeves is great at, like, getting at the fundamental human truths of the world. Like, when you're confronted with a technology that you don't understand, it's like, what is your response? Whoa.
Yeah, well, Keanu Reeves was Bill and Ted's Great Adventures. I thought that was
Right, that's a great film. It is.
I know,
It
but,
is.
you know,
It's a
hey,
great film. And
excellent to each other. Come on.
so, what about this one? Does anyone know this one?
No.
This one what?
This is the complete People series, also in book form.
Which
Actual
series?
book.
Were those a
A
series
little
of
bit
science
further
fiction
back.
novels from the 70s?
Yes.
Yeah, I
Well,
remember one of those.
earlier.
What-
In Gathering? Zina Henderson?
Ingathering.
Never heard of it.
No.
Earlier than the 70s. And the interesting thing about this series is a movie was later based on it called Escape from Witch Mountain.
No. Are you serious?
Yes, and this is the
Oh
collected
shit!
stories.
Let me write that down.
Right.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I see the first of the books appeared in 1961, Pilgrimage, the Book of the People.
Yes,
And
yes.
I remember when that was available in the 70s as a mass market paperback.
In
Cool.
Gathering. Keep holding that up if you don't mind.
No, I don't
In
mind.
Gathering.
Zana Henderson, and this is the edition that is it's all the stories collected into one.
Henderson.
The
And
People
Escape to Witch
stories.
Mountain was based on the entire.
And they're kind of like X-Men in a way.
The complete
Well,
series.
in what
Are you
way?
saying that the movie was based on the entire series or just on one part?
The movie's a direct lift from this book, these stories.
Wait, can you draw out the X-Men comparison?
Well, I mean, telepathic powers. They're very much like mutants. They happen to be from their extraterrestrials, but they have a lot of different abilities and skills, and
But
they have
what's the-
interaction with regular people.
Is the fiction as explicitly parallel to kind of social issues as the way X-Men was? Like X-Men as a theme was kind of all about like the gay rights movement and various other kind of social movements that.
Well, the X-Men not initially, they were after X-Men Giant Size #1 and X-Men Uncanny X-Men number 94. That's when the team got reinvented, and that's when Colossus came in. That's when Nightcrawler came in, and then it became more along those lines. By the
Wait,
way,
are you saying that also has something to do with X-Men?
which
That
does that
book you're holding?
the People series, absolutely. You got to read it to I mean,
Oh
it's
wow!
they have all kinds of different abilities, and they are living on Earth, and so they have to fit in and there's those situations that come about as a consequence of that.
Oh wow.
And
Well, thank you for that, Mike. I'm gonna
yeah.
definitely look that up. I got
Yeah.
it written down. There it is, in my shorthand, so to speak.
Okay, I have a quick housekeeping general question for anybody. I've clicked on the small portrait down below, and now my my main window is not going to whoever's mic.
You have to click on it again. Click on it again.
Okay.
It should be going back to the default. If you click on it, then it's gonna just fix it.
Well, like I clicked on you.
Oh, it's because Mike is under share mode.
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Paul,
Mike-
Paul, present.
Mike,
Mike.
is under share mode by Paul. Paul is sharing him now.
Yeah.
Paul,
Oh, is that what the little arrow means?
how do I unshare?
No,
Paul is
it's
presenting.
Paul.
I stopped
There
it.
you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. That's it.
So I was at the library today. I
need
got
another
Harry
glass of
Potter's
wine.
Chamber of Secrets
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay.
because I love the Harry Potter stories. J.K. Rowling is like the writing is phenomenal. It's
I know. Yeah,
people-
I've read it. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, people underestimate the writing, the writing, the storyline, just the writing. People underestimate Stephen King, and what a fantastic writer he is. He just happens to be driven and prolific, but the way he writes, the way he uses words.
Funny you should mention that, because I've been re-listening to The Stand, which I read when it originally came out in the 70s.
When I read that book as a kid, I mean, that just, and did you know, speaking of records, the Alarms, The Stand, the whole album is based on the book, The Stand by Stephen King. And that's a great album.
I don't know the album. I only know the book.
So you remember the group, The Alarm?
Yes, yes.
Right. So they had an album called their second album.
Right. They did. They called their album The Stand. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the second album, and it's amazing all the way through. It's just a fantastic album.
Hey, Mike, I heard you
Yeah.
say that J.K. Rowling is an excellent writer, and I agree with you. Even though it's kids stuff, she can draw a picture in your head in a matter of a paragraph.
It's
A lot of writers
people
can't
don't
do that.
understand how hard it is to write. I mean, what a challenge it is to write well for children. Write
It's not
good
a-
children's books.
Okay, I'll take the other side of this.
Hang on, Sam. Even though it's children's book, I want to recommend the book to you. I want to recommend, Mike, that you pick up the Robert Galbraith 3 books, which is actually J.K. Rowling under a pen name.
I
These are
actually,
they're not
when you
children's
said
books.
that, I put a mark in my head about it.
Yeah, because this is the thing about the Harry Potter. What people don't realize is that the reason why Harry Potter series was so popular and successful was because they're not fantasy stories; they're mysteries with a shaker full of fantasy. It's like Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, except that there's Hermione Granger and Ron Weasley and Harry Potter. So it's 3 instead of 2. These are detective mysteries written for kids with a dash of fantasy. That's why they were so popular. And she turned around and under a pen name, she created this detective called Cormoran Strike. And there's 3 so far. Cuckoo's Calling is the first one. It's a murder mystery and all this other stuff. But it is not kids' books, but it is her. And she writes the same way. She could draw pictures in your head within a matter of a paragraph.
Speaking of which, did anybody here see J.K. Rowling's tweet today?
Well, what's that?
I love her. I love her on Twitter. She has a lot of challenges on Twitter. You know?
No, she was quoting Lewis Carroll, and no one's seen it.
No,
No,
I didn't
what's-
see it.
What's it called?
You people are just not current on today's culture.
I'm not a tweeter.
We're not hip. We're not with it.
I'm a woofer.
Please
Well,
enlighten us, Paul.
it was-
Give
she
us a
took
hipster.
several of He Who Must Not Be Named's tweets and put them together into a graphic, and then quoted Lewis Carroll. And I'll leave the rest to you to find out about.
Okay, Sam, please.
Well, first of all, my son, the first point to make is that Paul's assumption that Trump, Voldemort is an obvious association that can just be assumed without any comment
Well, no,
Right.
Baltimore is fictional. Trump is
Well,
semi-fictional.
J.K. Rowling has a
Associate them
history.
freely as much as we want.
J.K. Rowling has a Twitter history that we know that she's hostile to the Trump administration. I would expect her to do something like that.
That's a perfectly fair point. Yes, that's
Oh,
right.
I all of a
Yes.
sudden I like her even better.
Fair enough. And I would expect nothing less of you, Patrick. That's right. But
That's okay. I'll uninvite you to the same party again.
in a recent Sam Harris Waking Up podcast, he mentioned how he has been reading the entirety of Harry Potter to his children, and that he started out reading it for them, but he said, "And now I'm just finishing it for its own sake," implying that he enjoyed it enough that he
Oh
wanted.
yeah,
to
I read every single word of Harry Potter out loud to my children,
That's a blessing.
and I did all the voices.
That's amazing.
Hagrid is easy for me, but I did Hermione.
You could do that.
I did all the voice, and it was great fun. Really, it was. Even though towards the middle, the series sags towards the middle, I have to say.
Are you any good at it?
Good at what?
Like the reading different voices.
Oh well, not professional level, no.
Well, come on, he did 7
But
books.
good
He's
enough for my
at it.
kids.
Yeah.
Who don't know that I'm
He
not
read
professional.
if he read all the Harry Potter books and did all the characters, he's good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm better at it than somebody who's never tried it before. I'll say that.
Yeah, you're far better at it than anyone who hasn't done it before. That's the absolute truth.
But the hardest voices were things like Voldemort and any of the female voices. But although I think I could do most of them pretty well.
well,
I would imagine Voldemort would be a snake-like voice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a physically painful voice to do.
Well, I actually had to listen to the British version of the audiobook, and I really hated that reader. But the guy who did the American books, what is his name?
Well, there's Stephen Fry.
Yeah, Stephen Fry did the British version. I did not like that.
Stephen Fry is brilliant.
Yeah,
I know he's brilliant, but I did not like the way it sounded because I got used to what's his name. Oh, geez, what's his name? The American version.
Yeah,
it was a British actor.
I know he's the guy who's generally less preferred.
He did the audiobooks for the American books, and he was.
I'm sure Nick's going to tell us in a second.
I'm looking. I'm trying to Google it. As Mike once said, I'm Googling as fast as I can.
I heard the tap, tap,
As
tap.
fast as I can. I love that line.
By the way,
Okay.
my most recent audiobook is Penn Jillette reading Kind of the Inquisitors. So I recommend that.
I think this.
Okay, Mike, I just wanted to show you, when you were talking about bookstores, I wanted to show you the intro that I did for the bookstore I used to work for in Aspen.
I'm right here.
Okay.
Sorry.
And
Stephen Fry versus Jim Dale.
Jim Dale, yeah.
That's it,
This
Jim
is-
Dale. Yeah, how could I forget that name?
this is Explore Booksellers in Aspen.
Aspen. Okay. White privilege. Excuse me.
Is that your definition of Aspen?
Yeah, pretty much. That's white privilege and hippies.
I love Aspen.
I have to. I like Aspen too.
Did you live in Aspen, Buck?
Yeah, I am still there part of the year as well.
Okay.
So
never-
I stay
Never actually
active.
been there.
I pretty much can't hate anywhere in Colorado.
You can't hate.
I can't hate anything in Colorado.
I love Steven Springs.
Even Colorado Springs, I can't hate.
Does anybody know why Stephen King chose Boulder as the setting for one of the communities in The Stand?
I'm scared.
Actually, Buck, I'm curious. Like, what's the deal with Aspen or Colorado generally in terms of like weed?
Wait a minute. Hold on. I want to know what the answer to Nick's question. Oh, you don't know, Nick? You just posed the query?
No,
Oh,
I have no. I'm throwing the question out. I have no idea what the answer is.
wow. And then you eat in between. Like, oh, God.
No,
Okay, so the Colorado situation with legal marijuana, recreational.
no, I mean with Sessions specifically.
What about him?
Attorney General Sessions is not a big fan of weed, and weed is legal in Colorado and wants to deal with that.
Well, did you hear what happened? Did you hear what Sessions did today with drug crimes?
I think he like fucked it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he do? I
He
didn't
fucked-
hear.
He fucked that shit up. He just like was like, we're gonna fuck it up.
He directed.
That was the wording of the order. Yeah. Pretty much.
No, what he did was he directed all the prosecuting attorneys to go after maximum penalties on all drug crimes.
So we fucked it up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right.
In other words, yeah,
That's the precise wording of what I said.
He
but
ordered
it's the
federal
same thing.
prosecutors to seek maximum punishment for drug offenses.
That's
right.
Oh,
It's
good, because we need more
unbelievable.
people in prison.
Exactly. It's so
what he's doing
awful.
is
Like, I
reversing.
never knew he was just that evil.
Right.
Yeah.
He's reversing what
he's that evil.
Obama did was to make the nonviolent crimes less less punishment. For example, like just holding some bag of weed or something is no big deal, as opposed to where back in in the 70s and stuff, you can get just as punished for a bag of weed as you could for a violent crime with drugs. So now all of a sudden we're going back to the dark ages, where we're going to fill up the jails full of people who just happen to be smoking a joint.
The jails are already full.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, and so
I mean,
now
you don't want to
it's a
overstate
privatized jail thing.
You don't want to overstate the effect of any particular policy, right? Like, I mean, the Justice Department is fucked up in lots of ways, and this is just one way among many, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's not a good development, as far as I can tell.
It is if you own stock in Corrections Corporation of America. It's a very good.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a limit to what people will accept.
I have a 24-hour broker. Hold on.
Yeah, and when
people don't want to pay for housing inmates, even if it's being done by a private corporation. So there, you could probably trace a graph of the peak at which people are willing to pay taxes to support this, and then eventually it'll come down again, just because people aren't going to finance.
People don't even have any idea how much they're,
how much
how many people are incarcerated who have never been convicted of hurting anybody.
Right. But you can see what this does for what's been going on with the prisons, the for-profit prisons. This kind of ruling is basically boosting this for-profit prison idea. The private prison.
Trump's election did huge. I think there was CCC went up like 30% or something.
Yeah, well, this is bad news. This is why I can't stand Trump.
Because of for-profit prisons. That's the only reason you can't stand Trump.
I was going to say, is that the only reason?
because he's in bed with Putin.
But in practical terms,
Putin has nothing to do with the for-profit prisons.
In practical terms, very little is going to change. I mean, you might get, even in this case of the Attorney General directing prosecutors, there's still going to be a lot of people who refuse to go along with it. There's to be a lot of judges who do different things. There's a limit to which you can enforce incredibly unpopular laws get ignored on a mass scale.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I drive 55 miles an hour on the highways everywhere I go.
Yeah, I used to set my cruise control for 75, and the speed limit was 55.
But in Colorado, by the way, you can drive 75 or 80 and a lot of legally.
Well, here in the Parkway, the speed limit in some places is 55, and then it jumps to 60 and back down to 55. At 2 o'clock in the morning, with no traffic, I can make it to a friend's house 62 miles away in less than an hour if I set the cruise control.
So you show up at your friend's house at 2 o'clock in the morning, and what did your friend think of that?
Yeah, that was some dozen years ago.
Well, it sounds like we don't have any Trump supporters in the Hangout. So
let's get some. We gotta get.
I think Sam is.
No, Sam's not a Trump supporter.
I think he got mad at me for liking J.K. Rowling better now that she's against him.
He has an empty chair now.
Yeah,
I guess
I was hoping he would hear me if I said it loud enough.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that's not the case. But do any of us do any of us talk to Trump supporters and
all the time.
And how does that go?
It's unbelievable to me. It's a constant source of mystery when I'm doing chores and away from the moment. So after the interactions, I go and do things like there's stuff around the house in Key West. There's always coconuts and all kinds of stuff. So I'm always busy in the yard or something. And at that's the time that I try to wonder, like, I know they're not, I just can't wrap my head around why they support Trump. And it isn't about the policies any longer. It's about, this is the person we picked who won, and we're sticking with that. So it isn't about right or wrong. It isn't about what's good for the country. It's about
we won.
My team.
Yeah.
And,
well, you shouldn't simplify it, because there's, in a country of millions of voters, there's going to be millions of different motivations that people have. There've been some very excellent analyses. I don't want to invoke Sam Harris too frequently, but he did a really good post-election takedown of why Trump won and why the Democrats lost. And there's been several good mainstream legacy media articles about it. And that recent book that just came out about the
but I don't want to talk about that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not the thing
actually,
I'm not interested in the whole Democrats versus Republican thing. I just am not acknowledging that I'm not interested in Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders, any of the other candidates that ran for Republican. Donald Trump is a president. He's doing terrible things for the nation. He's doing things specifically for the advantage of his own personal fortune, the personal fortunes of his friends and family. And he's working against the best interest of the United States of America. And on those terms is where I work to have engaging conversations with my friends and with people that I know who I deem intelligent enough to be having holding a conversation with. And then what I get is, whose house runs house? Whose house runs house? But they're not talking about Run DMC. They're talking about Donald Trump.
You know what else, Mike? You're right about, regardless of whether it's Republican or Democrat, right from the beginning of his campaign, they've always said, all of the newscasters except for Fox News, said that he's a hate monger, or he almost promoted the hatred or separation, and the people who were, what's going on right now that he's president for more than 100 days is already showing signs of the hate stuff coming back, going back to the dark ages kind of thing. I just listening to NPR today, and in some of the colleges there is an uprise in the white supremacist groups, showing themselves and making speeches, and their free speech thing. They go up and start talking about it is our time and all this other stuff. In other words, all of a sudden there is an uprising of this separation of this hate speech and this going back to the dark ages kind of thing. And it is because of the entire Trump campaign and into his presidency.
It's dog whistles.
He
dog whistles.
I completely disagree, and I think you're completely misreading the situation. Number one, the legacy media calls anybody who disagrees with them, every hate word you can get in the book. They're haters, they're misogynists, they're racist, they're white supremacists. They're painting with a very broad brush. Do any of you here actually listen to the speeches? I've listened to every speech Richard Spencer has given that has been on YouTube. So I know what he says to people. And you cannot point to an instance when he has said, I am a white supremacist, or I think whites are better than other people, because that's not.
No, this was actually stuff that's going on in the colleges. There's all of a sudden a new, what's the word I'm looking for?
There is, but you have to.
Groups of white supremacists are showing themselves, and they're organizing, speeches in the auditoriums. And all
100% with Nick on this, Patrick.
But
you're just wrong.
He's not wrong. It's two different things. Patrick is definitely not wrong.
No,
I agree.
I think he's wrong about this.
No, this
He's
is
wrong about
actually. I'm
this.
not. I'm
He's
not. I'm
talking
not.
about two different
I'm
things.
not giving
What
an
he's saying
opinion. I'm
is
telling you
that-
what's
is that
happening.
Donald Trump is saying this stuff. People and like a dog whistle. All these people.
Donald
who-
Trump is
who-
not saying this stuff. This
He's
is left
no,
wing
he's
responding.
inspiring he's inspiring the separation. He's inspiring the white supremacy. He's inspiring
He
the
is
stuff that
absolutely
was
not
going on
doing
back
that.
in the
That
60s.
is not
He's
just not
inspiring.
true.
absolutely is doing it. He has 2 Nazis in the White House right now.
I do not think that's true.
Okay, well, Steve Bannon.
Well,
Made-
Well, here is what is true.
Steve
What is
Bannon
true?
made,
What's going on in the colleges?
movies. In the movies, so-called movies, documentaries, whatever. One of them is in direct. It pays homage to Triumph of the Will. Okay,
Well-
it's meant to do that. You can Google it. He's complimented by that. Someone observed that. That's the first one. And the other guy is that guy Gorka, who wears a white supremacist Nazi fascist group pin, signs his name with that little V to signify his membership in this group. Yes, so there are 2 Nazis in the White House.
I just
Regardless of whether or not there's 2 Nazis in white, what I'm trying to tell you, Sam,
And so
is,
so what Patrick is saying is that the people who have these ideals and have these beliefs and have been hiding under the rock with them see this as a dog whistle, do come out and have been gathering in force because they see this as their moment.
and I'm
I mean,
telling you that I actually heard this part of the speeches. They actually broadcast part of the speeches in the colleges. These groups are getting together and asserting themselves.
Okay, my
There
impression
is an
is that-
uprise in the white supremacist ideas.
Is
and
that a
these people are
symptom?
getting
Is
together
that
and
a
doing it.
symptom? Is that a
Yeah.
symptom? Is there a kind of cause? Is Trump a symptom or is he a cause?
Yes,
I'm not
yes,
sure. I'm
Exactly,
not sure.
he is. He's
Okay,
a
hold
symptom
on.
or he's a cause. Absolutely.
Please,
I
please,
think
time
it's a
out.
symptom.
Please, time out for just a second. I want to ask Sam, because I don't think this is getting any traction with Sam. And what I heard as far as like a specific point of fact was Mike presented 2 people that he claims are
Nazis.
maybe Nazis, perhaps painted.
But what about
with
my
a-
fact that there are speeches going on in these colleges?
sorry. Who
Fact
are
is-
the people? Sebastian.
Okay, but
Gorka and Steve Bannon.
Gorka and Steve Bannon. I don't think either of them are Nazis. No.
And I agree
don't.
with Sam that they're not Nazis. They do not advocate the extermination of Jews. They do not advocate the rounding up of gypsies and
I will contradict you on that, Nick, because Gorka's mother was connected with that movement. His mother, and he.
but you
he's
can't control
connected
what
with
people in your family do. If I was going to be judged,
Right. So just
who
by
escaped
coincidence,
whipping?
he
As
happens
Hamlet
to be,
said.
by coincidence, he's connected with the Vitesse Wrens. All right, so it's just that by his mom happened to be that way,
Look,
and then
I don't actually know anything about Gorka, but let's
Bannon?
put it this way: the nature of the criticism I've seen against Gorka makes me skeptical of the criticism I've seen against Gorka. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. I don't mean to harp on this subject, but Sam. You're the one that said you disagree with me, and what I'm trying to tell you is this is not my opinion. This is a fact, and I actually heard part of the speeches over NPR radio in the colleges. I'm not going to say which ones, even if I can remember which ones. There is an uprise in these groups, making their organizations known and having their speeches and in their auditoriums, etc. There is an uprising in the white supremacist groups, and this is happening. This is not my opinion. This is actually happening, and I actually heard part of the speeches.
Unless you provide me some evidence.
No, I'm telling you, this is. I heard the fucking
Wait a
speech.
minute. I mean,
You
it's
want
so
me to-
easy. You guys,
you want me to take you
Google
there and see the
broken.
speech?
Like just what Google white supremacist groups, American campuses. Gee, mini cricket. It's just regular news. This is nothing. This is not controversial. It's not a.
There are lots of hoaxes about white supremacy. Hoaxes.
Dude, you're insulting me.
campuses.
I'm telling you, I heard.
Sam,
part of the speech.
you're
I'm telling
really.
you,
Yeah,
it's
I think
actually happening.
like regardless if there are so-called hoaxes about white supremacy, I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the matter of fact regular ones.
What is happening? Tell me.
I'm telling you
There
what's
are-
happening. There is an uprising of these groups asserting themselves.
Send me some
Because
links.
They are
Patrick,
by the
give an
idea.
example of one group.
I don't know the name of them. I just heard it on the radio today, and I heard part
Okay,
of
well,
their speech.
put it on the radio is not really very.
It actually
persuasive.
Exactly.
the evidence
You go
is
and say,
that his
okay,
speech
so
was
I mean,
recorded
like,
and replayed on air.
Because
I agree. Okay,
white
let's
supremacists recruiting like crazy on colleges, campuses. CollegeUSAToday.com,
Well,
March
look,
6,
I
2017.
can tell you back in the 80s, I was recruited unsuccessfully by a neo-fascist, racist guy. They're out there. Yes, they're always out there. But the question is, are they getting traction?
NOLA.
Right. That was the whole discussion with some of the students there were coming on and say, 10 years ago, they were there, but nobody paid them any attention. But what's going on right now, as of right today, as of yesterday, they are asserting themselves and they're making more speeches. Some of the people,
How do you know that, Patrick?
Some of the students, Sam,
How do you know they're making progress?
Sam.
What are you worried about and why?
Sam, would you please? Some of the students are saying we should just ignore them and they'll go away. Ignoring the assholes and they go away. Other students are saying no, we can't just ignore them. There's that walking the thin line of being trolled and actually giving them attention. Those people are saying, well, if we give them attention, then that's what they want. That sort of thing. That's what's going on in the colleges right now today.
Let me explain to you why I'm worried. The reason I'm worried is that the problem with censoring speech is not the speech that you're not concerned about. The problem with censoring
Sam, I'm not
speech
talking about
is
censoring them. I'm not talking about censoring. I'm talking about you.
Absolutely are.
I'm talking about you accusing me of giving you an opinion. I'm giving you facts.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I really don't intend to.
I'm telling you a fact. There is an uprising of these groups asserting themselves.
Well, no, Caleb, Patrick,
I'm not saying that we should censor them. I'm not saying any of this sort. I'm saying that there is a fact that these people
Patrick, you have not established this as a fact.
Patrick, you have not.
Okay, what do you want me to do? Go back and re-record
simple.
the goddamn thing and show it to you?
Yeah,
I mean,
how about
I don't have it in front of me.
That's how it works.
It's
Facts are tough to come up with.
There's
They're not.
reports
If
of the
you Google white supremacist groups college campuses, you get first one's USA Today, the next one's NPR, the next one's New York Times, NOLA.com, SPL Center.
Nobody doubts that they're out there.
USNews.com. No, these are all KKK, other racist group, disavow white supremacist label, active white supremacist groups in Florida, Minnesota groups camp cancels booking of Nordage Heritage Group, white supremacists trying to recruit on college campuses, New York Times, white supremacists step up recruiting on campus, report says. The report, I mean, these are all University of Southern California, Central Michigan University, Vanderbilt University in Nashville. These are
and
all
you could probably find
Sorry. So Mike,
on my own
Mike,
personal experience, I live here in Key West.
Mike, can you clarify? Are you claiming that these are it's an accelerating phenomenon
Yes.
of white supremacist groups?
Yes.
More than normal.
And if you do what Mike
So
says,
what's the baseline and what's the evidence?
You could probably find some of the speeches being.
Supremacist groups are stepping up efforts to recruit students on college campuses, according to a report published by the Anti-Defamation League Monday.
If it's published by the Anti-Defamation League, I mean that they're a propaganda organization. I know it sounds cruel for me to say that.
That's right.
There
are certain organizations
I'm sorry. I guess I'm a liar. Because I didn't hear
as being legitimate, which include the Southern Poverty Law Center. And the
I'm sorry. Am I a liar? Am I part of this group? I mean.
Sorry. Hang on for a second, Patrick.
Hold on, Patrick. Hold on.
Patrick, hang on for a sec. Some groups are taken for granted by the left as being legitimate voices of sort of kind of conventional or acceptable political speech. Those voices include the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, the other voices challenge the legitimacy of those
what other
voices? Groups.
Sam, what other voices? The Southern Poverty Law Center?
I'm a Jewish guy. I challenge
the Southern Poverty Law Center has made itself look absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they declared Pepe a hate symbol. I mean,
I do not. I absolutely 100% do not accept the Southern Poverty Law Center as a legitimate voice for any.
I don't give a shit about any of those organizations. I just simply stated a fact with the vagueness, yes, because I didn't name the groups. That the fact is that there is an uprising in these groups asserting themselves in the colleges, etc. And the speech, the small portion of the speech that I heard was done within the last week, and this is actually happening. No,
May
I don't have the recording.
May I make a comment, Pastor?
I don't have the recording in front of me to show it to you. I'm sorry I didn't record it. I was driving in my car when I heard it.
May I respond for a couple comments?
Sure.
Do any of you watch Gad Saad or Jordan Peterson on YouTube? I mean, they're well known, they're respected academics. They're fringe figures insofar as what they're saying is unpopular, but they're not lunatics. They're very rational. They have had a lot of material recently in which they've talked about what's going on college campuses. You have to understand.
I've certainly listened to Jordan Peterson, but you know what side of the debate I'm on here. So, like, you know.
A lot of this stuff that's going on college campuses is a reaction to the extreme PC environments and the attempt to indoctrinate rather than to educate. And it's in some places it's not so bad, but in some places it's way off the charts, and people are getting routinely. Gad Saad the other day was telling a story about these people had to go through this exercise where everybody who had one position on the issue had to stand on one side of the room, and everybody who had the non-popular opinion had to stand on the opposite side of the room. So it'd be very obvious to everyone present who was not going to go along with the program that the college wanted everybody to go along with. And the guy said by the end of the exercise, everybody just stood on the same side of the room. So nobody would be.
I understand that. I'm just saying that this whole thing that I said got blown out of proportion. I simply stated a fact, though it was vague because I didn't mention any names.
What fact did you state, Patrick?
And Sam over there just dismissed me as if I was a liar.
Patrick,
Patrick.
Well, good. I'm happy with this. Patrick, please restate your fact.
I still hear you.
And I'll tell you whether I stand by my refutation.
I'm telling you that this is happening. There is an uprising in these groups.
Okay.
Ever since the Trump campaign started.
So a fact requires
you have to back it up. It can't not just that you heard it and not you have to source it. It's totally fair. This is not. It's not.
I sourced it by NPR, which I actually heard on the radio today.
So who are these?
Okay. So who is NPR?
What is the statement that they're
National Public Radio?
Okay, fine. NPR, a well-known liberally biased media source. Fine.
No, seriously what I'm saying. That's calling me a liar. They broadcast the actual portion of the speech.
What's the statement that they said that you think is false? They had students that were interviewing
on both sides and all that other stuff. But the point is that this is actually, you could put it on a graph, you could do whatever you want. This is actually happening. There is the people who are inspired by the hatred or the hate mongers. They are inspired by this idea.
What did they say that you think is false?
And you being Jewish, by the way, are on the bottom of their totem pole.
Well, the funny thing is,
what specific statement do you think they said that you think is false?
Oh, Patrick has left the building. No, he's back. Okay.
But the funny thing is now that
I'm still listening.
Jews now get thrown into the same basket with white men, so they suffer of the same.
That's right. It's like the low status oppressed.
Although white men used to oppress Jews pretty aggressively.
That's right, of course. Yeah, we're experts at that.
But now there are doctors, so we have to respect them.
Well, Sam, do you get invitations to the Bilderberg group? I don't.
I wish. Well,
I mean, I'm a stubborn guinea. Yeah. I don't give a shit about anything.
Well, Italians used to get oppressed too. Let's face it.
Most people accuse me of being in the mafia because of my last name. What can I tell you?
What I'd like to see is a debate when people disagree profoundly is like a person gets a chance to state their opinion, and then the person who disagrees, that what they have to do is they have to state their understanding of what that person said in a manner acceptable to the person who established the first position.
I like that, Buck. It's called the intellectual Turing test. Yes, and I'd like, if you want to try it, I'm up for that now, right? Patrick, if you'd be interested in exploring trying the intellectual Turing test on this particular question.
Let me ask you something. Let me give you a little thought experiment here, Sam. You're driving in your car.
I guess we're not going to get buy-in on the format.
You saw something fantastic. And you came onto this podcast and you said, you know what I saw today? am I going to sit there and say, oh, you know, but there's a lot of groups out there that are saying that that's fine? No, I'm saying, well, what did you see? Of course, tomorrow I'm going to go like search it out. But you just dismissed me as if I was almost as if I was a liar. Not really as a liar, but you know, you
I didn't
dismissed
hear
me
that.
as if what I was telling you, what I heard, was totally false.
I heard him dismiss NPR.
Yeah, that's another thing. But I actually heard part of the speech, and I'm saying that this is what is going on. And I don't know to what degree it is. And as Nick explained, there are things that are going on in some of the colleges that are, you know, appalling, and there are some that are not so appalling. That's not to say that there's I'm not talking about censoring or anything like that. I'm just telling you what I heard. It's
Okay, but my
that.
parents, or I've got friends who are big Trump supporters, and they watch Fox News. And they repeat what Fox News says. And whenever I want to prepare to talk to them, I make an effort to spend a couple of days before I talk to them to watch Fox News and see what's on Fox News, because I will know how to talk to them. And I know what their opinion is going to be about, what opinion they're going to express on whatever topic.
You know, you think their opinion.
Yeah, but this wasn't my opinion. This is what I was simply telling you what I heard. I wasn't giving you an opinion about what I heard. I was simply telling you what I heard.
Right. Well, these people will go one step further, and they will advocate this view as their own. And if it's factually mistaken, I don't consider them lying, because they believe what they're saying. They believe their source, but their source is misleading them. So
okay, fine. But I did mention the fact that I heard a partial recording, a playback of part of the speech that was given by this particular group, and it is a fact. This is what's going on in one of the colleges, and there was interviews with other students. One student, you know, some of the students were grabbing a group to make sure that the hate mongering doesn't go on. There's the bullying that goes on, and they actually have a group to comfort these other kids and all this other stuff. I'm not going to go into all those details, because I
don't think anybody disagrees.
Photographic memory, you know. Or,
I don't think. Hey Pat, I don't think anybody disagrees that you heard this. I think the disagreement is over whether or not the presentation of the fact that you heard, or the presentation of the evidence you heard, was misleading.
No, the recording was not a misleading recording. The playback recording was in fact a speech that happened within the last week or so. I don't remember the exact date they gave. It was a very recent speech. It was within the 100 days of the Trump administration. It is happening now within the last couple of weeks. In other words, since Trump was running for president, and I know for a fact that I watched his campaign, and I know I heard his speeches and I heard his stuff, and I feel for my personal self, he is one of those hate mongers that, you know, what do they call them? He seems to excite the people that are of that nature. You know, the white supremacists.
Are you looking for the word demagogue?
No, there's another word. It has to do with the word hate. You know,
fucktard.
You know, he inspires these hate mongers. You know, the bigotry that he almost inspires this sort of thing. And I saw that in him from the day he started campaigning, and now that I see it in fruition, it bothers me. But at the same time, you know, the pendulum swings. Somebody gave that pendulum a kick, and it's going to bounce back fast.
Well,
that is my opinion. That I will tell you is my opinion.
I agree, and I think there is nothing that has produced as much progressive action as the Trump administration since I've been alive.
I would like to make, I'm not disagreeing with Patrick, but I'd like to make the opposite prediction. I think that we've only just seen the beginning of a reaction, and that the right is going to be very successful in the near and midterm future. For one of the reasons is the contemporary left is completely uninteresting, and they're also not funny, and they're not amusing. There's been several great videos on YouTube lately. All they have to offer.
Before you go into the YouTube videos, tell me your success criteria.
something that makes me laugh or something that keeps my interest. I
Well, that's a
cannot
pretty
walk.
low standard of success for the right.
Yeah, yeah.
If all they have to do is make you chuckle one time.
Well, no, I didn't say only chuckle. I didn't say
I'll
only
double
chuckle.
down on Nick here. Yep.
Okay, so what
I
is
feel 100% aligned with Nick on this point.
how do we test?
I'm in agreement, although I disagree with much of what Nick and Sam have said earlier. I have to say I am in agreement with this point.
Okay, so what? How will we measure success?
Well, take a guy like Jordan Peterson. Now, I enjoy Jordan Peterson's lectures, but I don't agree with everything he says. Okay, so this is not an advocacy. This is a man who has made, in the 21st century, who has made traditionalism intellectually interesting and even exciting. And if you can get students interested in traditionalism in the 21st century, you have really accomplished something of significant measure. He has, more than 200,000 followers on YouTube. He recently came to McMinnville, a small town in Oregon. He was invited to give a speech there. He gives speeches all over, and he really has people fired up. And because he's interesting, because he makes traditionalism intellectually interesting and rigorous and respectable. I don't know of anybody on the contemporary left. Now, admittedly, my knowledge is very, very narrow, but I can't think of anybody who I watch their lectures and I think, wow, this is great. I am learning something. I'm going to look for more of this material. To me, once again, I don't know everything that's out there, but when I do watch left of center intellectuals and their lectures, they're incredibly dull. They're almost without humor. And the only thing they seem to have to offer people is control the speech and control the behavior. If we can stop people from saying mean things, we're going to have a better world. And that's just not going to do it. That's not enough. You have to have something either to draw people in, and that can be, you can draw people in intellectually, you can draw people in aesthetically through the arts, you can draw people in physically through sports, you can draw people in many different ways to a movement. But
I don't believe you can name a person who claims that one thing is a sufficient condition to produce the change that you propose.
No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what Nick is saying.
I don't understand that point.
I hear what Nick is saying. In the same half hour that I was driving, just before the college story, there was also a young girl author talking about there was a book. I'm sorry I don't remember any of it because I was busy trying to figure out where I was going. Something about there was either a ballet or a song lyric. Yeah, I think it was a song lyric being written that she got changed because it was a choir. That's what it was. It was a high school choir in New York. And somebody wrote a song and it was about not seeing color. And one of the students said, no, that's not right. We all see color. You can't deny that. It's what you think about it, that sort of thing. In other words, I'm not saying that I don't see color and all that stuff. I claim to be, open-minded and non-prejudiced, but we all see color. We all see different things. So they wrote this song. The writer changed the lyrics of the song to say something like, we do see color, but that sort of thing. And again, I apologize for being so vague. But again, I'm driving and I'm paying attention to the road and I'm hearing this stuff, and that's what happens.
Okay. Anyway, Mike, you said that you.
Yeah. What were you saying? Buck?
Nick made the claim that the boring speakers on the left, presumably in political philosophy, that's my guess, is what you were mostly addressing.
More or less.
Yeah. That all that they had to offer to create this this positive outcome that is kind of vaguely defined, presumably, is to not say mean things, and that they
Because
there's
you stop
basically
saying
nobody on.
the world will be a better place. That's the whole reason why I told you the story about that song.
Yeah,
Wait.
I'm not sure, and I doubt. I'm happy and probably delighted to be demonstrated wrong on this. But if you can provide the name, Nick, of someone who has this position, because this is one of my things, is when people ascribe to opposition a position that is well, it's a classical straw man. It is a very unreasonable position on its face, and it would be very difficult to take anyone seriously who actually advocated such a view.
Yes, Buck, that's the whole point. The whole point was that you can't tell people, you can't make it better by stopping to say things mean.
Is there anyone who maintains that as a position?
Just like that song was supposed to be, you're not going to stop thinking color. You're not, I see color. That's the whole point.
Right. Is there anyone who
it's not going to make the world a better place by not telling or not thinking mean things or saying even mean things?
We agree. We agree.
That's
my
true.
question is, A, is there anybody who actually believes such a thing? And B, can you point them out?
Wait,
Can you point to a person?
Wait, hold on. If I understand correctly, and Nick, you can feel free to jump in here as well. So, Buck, you're saying you're saying that there's some people that believe just the is it dialectic? Is that the right word, Nick, of the left? And you're proposing there's some people that are just into that, the ideas, like we have to do these things, we have to say these particular words, we have to say them in this way, we have to support people in this way, and if we don't, that it's wrong. And Buck, you're saying you're asking, is there people actually believe that? And Nick, you're saying that that's not winning people over to the left. Is it? I mean, like, could you clean that up for me a little bit?
Well, I'm just giving a big overview perspective. I'm not saying that.
Just an overview.
I'm not saying what has happened actually happening in society right now is rational, or that it's. I'm just saying that, from my point of view, as somebody who I'm a consumer of ideas.
From your vantage point.
I read stuff and I watch videos on YouTube and I get ideas wherever I can get them. At this particular moment of time, I'm sorry to have to say this because I'm an old style liberal from way back when, but now my views would not be characterized this way. All the interesting ideas are on the right, and there's no interesting ideas on the left. And if you want me to cite people, just take any college professor anywhere across the United States or the Western world, and they all, fall in this absolutely predictable group of positions. I mean, this is why Jonathan Haidt has, or Haidt, I guess his name is pronounced, has produced the Heterodox Institute to point out the lack of viewpoint diversity on campuses. Now, his idea of viewpoint diversity is there are no Republican professors, and that's basically true. But you should know that the people on the far right look at people, Republicans, call them cuck-servatives, are utterly contemptuous of them. Even to them, the Republicans are not nearly far enough right. And unfortunately, these are the people with the best ideas right now. Just like, who is a poet who said, the best lack all conviction and the worst are full of passionate intensity? That's what we are seeing right now.
It was funny.
How could
I don't even know what right and left
this
means anymore.
I mean, like, you say they have the best ideas. How am I to?
Well, I like I said, I'm not presenting an argument. I'm giving you my personal view of what I respond to and what I find.
When you say they have, when you're saying the best ideas, you're saying that the ideas are the most amusing and prone to hold people's attention, correct?
Well, not just that, but obviously this takes place on a couple different levels. There's the level of public engagement, and that has to be amusing or it doesn't function, or if not, or it has to be intriguing, or you can be a bomb thrower like Colt, or I can't remember her first name. She made a reputation for herself by being what people in the media call a bomb thrower. And so you say outrageous things, and then people get mad and they call up the show because they want to give their opinion. Okay, that's one way to get public engagement. But there's another level entirely where people engage on the level of ideas. And when people talk about ideas, the standard is very different. You don't have to be amusing, you just have to be good, and you have to have something to say that stops people in their tracks and says, this is interesting, I'm going to think about this, I want to work on this, this is something that's really gets my attention.
I just have one question. I just have one question. The thing is, throughout the last decade, I don't even know what right and left means anymore. To me, this whole group right here, that all of us right here, we're talking intellectually about different things and even getting mad sometimes. This is a good thing. I don't know if I'm right, left, or in between. I don't give a shit. You know, whoever labeled right and left, I don't have no idea what they're talking about.
Comes from the French Revolution.
Ah, well.
When the French Revolutionary Assembly got together, the people in the middle were the liberals. The people who wanted to go farther in the direction of the revolution were the radical left, because they sat on the left side, and the people who wanted to go back more toward the feudal system, they sat on the right, and they were the conservatives.
Okay,
that's the origin of left and right.
I guess in that definition, I guess I'm left, but you know, don't you think it, you know, in the 2017 and the 21st century, don't you think that kind of got skewered?
Okay, but before we go to that point, I mean, the question I have, like the topic about that the so-called right has the interesting ideas, and then defining the like being really specific about what this phrase interesting ideas mean, because that's noteworthy. That's something that people, and the reason it interests me, Nick, is because we don't talk about that. And that's the thing that we should be talking about. That's what I want. I align myself with the center left. I don't know. I mean, like, yes, the center left. I'm okay with most everyone. Don't be an asshole. That's pretty much a good rule. And I appreciate a good joke. I like a good joke as well. I can laugh at myself. I mean, I can, and at the same time, I'm the guy that stands around in places thinking, I'm wondering, hey, is this person being a jerk to somebody else? Do they need help? Because that's kind of what's going on. And that's what started this conversation in a way, by Patrick mentioning about a purported rise of the right on college campuses and around. And it's been my personal experience all across the nation as I travel, that in different places, people are coming out and saying things that they wouldn't have said before. And
it's like the Bill and Ted thing, you know, the Keanu Reeves, you know, it was a comedy show, it was a comedy movie, but the whole their whole persona, as dumb as they proposed to be, was to be excellent to each other. You know, there was a kind of a funny, you know, good joke. It was actually
right, and that's the kind of thing. So like Nick mentioned Jonathan Haidt, and then talked to Haidt, and then had this is a person who's sort of known for mentioning how when we talk about a certain topic, or even to tell it in narrative or stories, and it becomes popular, that we have genuinely physiological responses to this, and it generates other actions on our part. So if the narrative, the national dialogue is about, I think in moral disgust and moral beauty or something like that, if we're talking about one thing and we're not talking about the other, then it makes sense to me that there's going to be a increase on the one end of whatever it is we're talking about, which in this case is assholeness. It's different, and there's some interesting ideas that a lot of these people, some of whom are more assholes than the other, are presenting and bringing to people's attention, until the side that doesn't align itself as the right acknowledges this and says, okay, so they are bringing these bad ideas to the forefront in an interesting way, then and stops trying to put what is supposedly correct and approved of or preferred behavior out as its own reward, as it's in a non-interesting way, then this dynamic, which we've come to experience as day-to-day reality, is just going to be perpetuated. And that's why I'm really interested in what Buck and Nick are talking about right here, because if we can look at this in a way to get some new idea or new insight into this I don't know if mechanism is the best way to put it, but this way that things are functioning, then maybe we can move it in a different direction, or we can put inspiring premises in package them in good ideas, or in a way
it's perfect that you should mention that, because you're the one who's doing it. Your astronaut instruction manual and getting kids to think about the future, that is what can be done. Getting people to think about the future. If you spend all your time telling people that they're oppressed and they should be angry and they should rebel about it, you're going to get a bunch of oppressed and angry people. If you tell people the future is so bright, it blinds my eyes, like Oprah Winfrey said, or you tell people that there are jobs in space, or that there's a future and it's bigger and better than you can even think of now.
Yes.
That's something. You reach people that way. I mean, you can see the faces of an audience change.
I appreciate that acknowledgement, because
there's a problem.
When I'm engaging with the students, when I talk with students, and the reason I talk with students, young students, about space, is because it's not a battle I can fight, and I'm not into a battle when I talk about space, encouraging space exploration with grown-ups. Encouraging space exploration with grown-ups a lot of times leads to a defense of space exploration, which is not. I don't think that that's a necessary discussion. But when I talk about space exploration with young students, I don't have to have the discussion about why space exploration is important. Young students get space exploration intuitively, naturally, without any. You put the question there. Hey, who wants to go to space? 2/3 of the hands go up in the room. 1/3 of the hands don't go up. They don't want to go to space, but they're still interested in talking about going to space. And that's the difference between grown-ups and adults right now for me. And that's why I like having that conversation. Now, inversely, I don't bring all the trash of the day to students. I don't want to bog them down with it. It's not something they need to be thinking about, in my opinion. I don't think they have the critical skills to sort through this stuff, because as a grown-up who's 52 years old, I barely have those skills.
I wanted to say something. I want to say something real quick. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think that one of the problems is that as soon as you position yourself as soon as you identify yourself coming from a certain position, anything that you're going to say, as positive as it is, as inspiring as it might be about the future, like Nick suggested, is going to be automatically perceived looked at in a biased light by a lot of the audience or your potential audience. And that's one of the main reasons why I abstain on purpose on my social media activities from going into into any kind of political or religious identification, because I already know for a fact that no matter how good things I can say out there, if I identify myself from coming from a certain position, there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to listen to me no matter what. So the problem with a lot of these interlocutors, a lot of these speakers, is that if they are pre-identify themselves coming from a certain political foundation, they're going to be automatically discarded by a lot of people, no matter what they say. And I think that this is one of the problems that we have in this country today, is that the discourse and the dialogue is automatically stopped dead in its tracks, because people, instead of looking at the content, they look at the political lines. You know what I mean? They look at where are you coming from politically, and if you identify yourself, I'm not going to listen to you no matter what you say anymore. You know, that's a problem.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it has to do with evolution. I mean, we are a tribal species, and the lure of the ancient tribal ways of our humanity, of our ape-like behavior, it just comes up no matter what year it is, no matter what century it is. You just get one person, I'm not going to mention any names, to have this campaign of speech of we are, you know, we're going to make this country better. Oops, did I accidentally say that? You know, when we start doing that, you know, our ancient, you know, sense sparks up. You know, when we still had hair all over our bodies and stuff. It just comes up to the surface.
You mentioned, Patrick, you mentioned divisions, right? The country being divided. And what is a basic foundational way for dividing each other? It's labeling each other. As soon as we label each other, that's when we're going to be starting to identify differences versus then commonality.
Right. For example, part of that speech
versus the differences, you know?
Right. For example, part of that speech that I remember now was about making this country a Muslim-free country. Yeah, we all have our prejudices. We all know that the terrorists are mostly Muslim and all that, but that doesn't mean all Muslims are bad and all that. You know, I can go on forever with that discussion. You know, don't drag me down on that discussion. But the point is that this is what the hate mongers hone in on. This is what they do, and then they you know, exacerbate the whole idea of separating the species, or separating the skin colors, or et cetera, so forth and so on. This is what happens. But instead of moving forward, instead of being embarrassed by our past history, which is really nasty, you know, there's no doubt about it. You know, we you know, there's a lot for this country. You know, as an American, I'm embarrassed a lot about, you know, when I read the history, the actual history of this country. You know, but if we can move forward and say, yes, we were assholes, but we're not going to do that anymore.
Well, my point is that
we don't seem to be able to say that. We don't seem to be able to say that we're going to stop being assholes.
Right, but my point is that divisions can come from all sides. You know, there's now one side, left or right or center or top or bottom or diagonal, that is going it's not going to create division just for the very reason that they are a side. So
I completely agree with Ciro, and I like to say that the response to what I think is the appropriate response is to insist on conducting debates on the level of ideas and not on the level of persons or groups. And when people try to drag you down in talking about groups, say, no, we're talking about this is a good idea, this is a bad idea. If you have an argument against this idea, give it. If you have an argument for this idea, give it. We're going to talk about ideas, we're not going to talk about people.
Right. But as soon as you pre-identify your position, or your position is perceived to be pre-identified, as soon as some people, if they pre-identify me or perceive me as coming from a certain point, from a certain position, right? From a certain, you know, political spectrum, I guess.
That's why I have a problem with left or right.
They automatically
I have no idea what that means.
They're automatically not going to listen to me with the same light as somebody else that, you know what I mean, kind of think that I am on a certain spectrum. So that's why I don't want to be identified with any spectrum. Listen to what I'm saying. Don't think I'm from the right, from the left, from the right, from the center, or anything.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's why
you have to know who you're talking to. If you know who you're talking to, if you know who your audience is, you can steer away from things that they will make them pigeonhole you. And you can focus on things. I do this with my family all the time because I know I can't touch on certain political issues. So I just completely set them aside. But I know them well because I know them so well. I know what the hot buttons are and I don't push them. I talk about other things.
I agree with that too. But I have to agree with Ciro 100%. Because that's exactly what it is, Kiro. It's the labels. That's why I have
personal experience on Google Plus. I got 135,000 followers, and I have from the beginning of my participation on Google Plus, I made a pledge that I was not going to go ahead and talk about politics or religion, and it doesn't work. You know, there's going to be always somebody comes out and say you're a filthy leftist, or somebody say you're a filthy rightist. How can you?
Exactly.
I never said
I agree with you 100%, Kiro.
It doesn't matter.
That's exactly what
identify you. Even if you don't identify yourself, people are still going to try to label you. No matter
right. It's exactly what I was talking about when I asked the question, what is right, what is left? You know, it's a label. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but it goes beyond that.
Who the hell cares? Let's talk about good ideas and bad ideas. Right. Let's not talk about labels. But right and left and in between and all this other bullshit is just labels.
Right. And it doesn't matter if you don't want to label yourself, people are going to try to label you for you. You know what I mean?
But if you can see what they're doing, you can immediately do the jujitsu trick, and you can engage them intellectually. And they say, okay, you're calling me a such and such. What is a such and such, and how do I exemplify that for you?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I've been accused. I've been strongly accused by an individual on Google Plus recently that I'm a leftist. You know, I'm a leftist. I'm like, how can you? Where do you have the evidence? I have never made any kind of statement to position myself on one spectrum or another. How can you make this kind of inference or imply that I'm from a and then the next day somebody comes and say that I am a Nazi or from the right. I'm like, how ridiculous is this? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. People are trying to identify you even when you haven't done anything to give them a reason to identify you. They still want to identify you somehow. You know what I mean?
They were like trained to do that.
Right. Exactly.
This is why we're all hanging out here. This is why we're all talking about this, because we are semi, even our most disagreement here, the disagreement I had with Sam, for example,
right.
even though I disagree with him, I still feel that he's part of our group because none of us really believe all this stupid shit, about the labels.
Yeah, but I respect people that, I don't care if you want to identify yourself politically. That's not, that's your prerogative. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it doesn't bother me that if you're from the far left or from the far right. I take anybody that wants to have a conversation, as long as you don't try to push yourself onto me or evangelize me. I don't care.
Try to force your thoughts down somebody else's throat.
Exactly.
I mean, for example, everybody knows that I've said that I can't stand this fucking guy named Donald Trump. That doesn't make me far left or far right or whatever the hell he is. It just means that I don't like this person because I think he's an asshole.
What was the original question from? Was it from Mike? I said he asked, "Did you ever talk to?" Who asked the question at the beginning? Do you ever speak to Trump supporters? And my answer to that is, yeah, of course I speak to Trump supporters, and I also speak to non-Trump supporters, but I don't talk about Trump with them. That's my answer. I speak to any of them.
I identify a person. Speaking of Trump, by his actions and his words, and from the beginning he talked a lot of stupid shit. I mean, I don't like this guy. I wouldn't be his friend if he lived next door to me. I would steer away from him. This is not somebody I want to be friends with. I just don't like him. And he lies every other word. I mean, I don't give a shit what you call him. I don't care if you call him left or right. I don't care what that is. All I know is that this guy is not trustworthy, and I don't like him.
It's a matter of personal agendas at the end of the day. I don't care about talking about politics, period. So I don't even want to introduce the subject of the president of the United States or any other politics, just because I don't talk about that stuff. I talk about science. I talk about to promulgate science and technology. So I don't want to lose basic audiences because I get into a political conversation that doesn't go anywhere anyway. But that's me. Anybody's free to do whatever they want. I'm not going to
say. Personally, what I do is even though, as Nick pointed out, I engage with young students in one way, when I'm engaging with grown-ups, as a professional, I frequently do. We all must. We just have to. It's just something we got to do. And I'm a big fan of the punch a Nazi in the face rule. I love that rule. I'm a big advocate for it. I'm just like, it may be absolutely contrary to any number of other things I've got operating simultaneously in my head. And nonetheless, I, as a openly bisexual person, grew up when it was like being hunted. Right. And I had to get through that. And it's turned me into, it's enabled me to be this person I am today, it's like a version of a superhero for myself. Not all superheroes have superpowers. Batman doesn't have superpowers. And I think Batman is pretty much an asshole. And but at the same time,
did you just say Batman is an asshole?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He really is. He's really uptight. And he's got a hang up. He's got a bunch of hang ups, and he needs to work through his stuff. But while he's doing that, he's also, if you're hurting other people, if that's your gig, he's like, God put Batman here for you. And that is me with bullies. So when I know what I went through, I am now a grown up. I know what I went through as a youth. I'm now a grown up, and I have the capacity to be in the way, not necessarily prevent, but be there for people who are being oppressed or subjugated or attacked or beaten on or whatever. It's like when that's why I stop when I hear these trigger words for me. When I hear words like the N word,
right, or
the F word, or the C word, or the J word, any of these just trigger words. When somebody's calling somebody else that, somebody's saying that to another person, you can say that to me all day long, God bless you. But somebody else might not be able to manage it as well as I am able at this juncture.
Right.
So that's my role with grownups. And when I'm engaging with people socially on my Twitter, I have had science professionals contact me in the back and like, Mike, you gotta let this whole Trump thing go. You gotta talk about something else. You're like, but at the same time, I would feel amiss. I would feel it's remiss for me to not pay attention to what's happening right now and not face it, so that I can make the space for these kids to grow up behind me. Like,
yeah, you have to call out what you see. In other words, you see somebody say something, and that includes Donald Trump, or do something, and that includes Donald Trump, and you see it's repulsive to you. You have to call it out.
Then likewise.
That's wrong.
And like another thing, Patrick, is that when I see these young people, not young students, but like college students and young people fighting the power, I have another role where I make sure that they're not being put down by somebody as capable of myself, who's fighting on the other side, who's working to undermine and destroy. I mean, a lot, we talk about right and left, but there are all of these politicians who are anti-immigrant, not anti-immigration, but anti-immigrant. And how many people are anti a particular religion, which is to me anti-American.
Right.
So,
right. Like for example, I'm an atheist, and I boldly on live air, which is still live right now, I jokingly talk about being a son of a bitch of an atheist. But I'm part of a chess club right now, and I try to teach young kids how to play chess, because I think that chess, teaches kids the logic and all that. Whatever, I'm going to brush over that idea. But the point is that one of my main students happens to be her mother and stuff. There happen to be very religious people. Just because I'm an atheist doesn't mean that I'm not going to teach this kid because her mother's a freaking evangelistic religion person. I don't do that. No, this is a sweet child who is a very nice kid. In fact, there's a thing on my refrigerator. It says, thank you, Pat, Mr. Pat. She says, Mr. Pat, for the chess book. I mean, it doesn't, just because I'm a son of a bitch of an atheist doesn't mean I dismiss these people, as bad people. No, that's not the way it is. The way it is that I seek out, good people and whatever they are. I might, vaguely express my opinions on during those games and stuff, but that doesn't, okay, I know. Paul Carr is saying that.
Okay, look, guys, I gotta get to bed.
What? No, you're to blame for this. All this.
Yeah, it's my fault. I will take all blame. But we're gonna wrap up now because we've been talking for over 2 hours. And
you guys, is Sam asleep? Sam's asleep.
Sam is asleep.
Yeah, Sam is asleep.
When
Mike got here, that's when the conversation really got going.
Yeah, well, Sam found it very exciting. I wish I could sleep like that with my head on my shoulder, but my neck would suffer terribly.
This has got to be good for a prank, man. I don't even know. Like, what?
I don't have any way to like, I
His
can't.
nose with a feather. Can you put peanut butter on his hand?
It's Friday night.
and-
Yeah.
He lives
Yeah,
in New York
it's
City. It's
on
Friday
somebody's
night. Got to be out.
Sam, wake up.
He's just waiting for like 2 a.m. when it's time to go out party and clubbing. Anyway,
This is the best podcast ever.
Sam, we're not meaning to make fun of you. Sorry. All right, we're gonna
Can we
head
just
out
agree
now.
that anybody who is asleep is wrong right now? Can we just agree with that?
He's gonna wake up tomorrow morning with the hangout still going.
Tell you what,
I stopped an audio book for this.
no one has the stamina to sit through 7 hours of us. So we're gonna wrap it up now. And if you've been watching, thank you. And this is Unseen Pub number 5. Obviously, it's highly unstructured and goes wherever it goes. And
We're redefining that term.
Yeah.
and that's fine. That's how it should be. And the podcast is a lot more. We try to put a little bit more structure and keep Sam awake in it. And the next one is next Friday night with Ms. Who remembers her name now? Anyway,
Is she an ethnobiologist? What is she? No, what is he? What's she?
she's an epidemiologist.
Entomologist?
And I'm sorry. I apologize to her for not remembering her name properly now.
Madison Campbell.
Madison Campbell. Yes. She's a young graduate student at UMass, and she's got some ideas about how to survive being in a space colony. And we're going to talk about that next week.
Sweet.
And it'll be much. Sam will probably stay awake if he's there.
Oh, everybody give him a psychic hug right now. Psychic hug to Sam.
I just hope he's not too mad.
Okay, Sam.
He's going to have good dreams right now. He's going to be like,
Don't be mad at me, Sam. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get mad at you.
no, tell him the truth. Tell him the truth.
Before we go, I want to ask
not
Buck.
the truth.
Who is that person over your right shoulder? That person right there.
Oh, Mike?
Sure.
No, Buck. There's a piece of paper stapled to your wall.
That's me.
That's you. Okay. I thought it was a wanted poster.
Most wanted.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Never convicted.
Card I'm going to get you, Buck. Most wanted.
Okay.
Never
Hang on. How
convicted.
big is that magnetic board?
It's not magnetic. You just put it on a tack or something. Okay. Well, good night, everybody.
Hey, Paul, who was the person who got their PhD?
Miss
Morgan Irons.
no, not Morgan Iron. She just got her bachelor's. It's Kimberly Cartier.
Congratulations.
She's at Penn State. She's got her PhD in astronomy and astrophysics, I think.
That's awesome. That's
And
quite an accomplishment.
yeah, you have to work extremely hard to do that. And so congratulations, Dr. Cartier. And we'll see her in 3 weeks.
Sweet.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.